Grand Rising, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well this rising. Do me a favor and hit your ones if you can hear Bones and myself. Bones, say something to people.
Grand Rising, Grand Rising. Hope everybody enjoyed their weekend. Oh, give me 1 second and situated.
Take time. Just getting the audio right. Can y'all hear us? If y'all can, get some words up.
The first ones in the chat if the sound coming through clear.
Send a text message. That's a delay. Mic check. Y'all can hear us, let us know. Okay, no sellout said we sound good. So, look, I'm about to get word. I was like, I know I left everything like it was. Alright, good stuff. So today we're gonna be you said a couple more mic checks. Okay.
Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Coming in loud and clear, loud and clear.
Can everybody hear Bones good?
La 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 la.
You said the music is loud. Alright. Let's see. What about now? You said voices are great, but the music is loud. Let me see if I can adjust that. 'Cause I'm capturing the browser.
They probably got to go to it and turn it down from there. Go on TMX adjust that. So again, how was everybody's weekend? Hope everyone enjoyed their Mother's Day. And also a happy Mother's Day from a Tontonist Assembly. Well, happy belated Mother's Day from a Tontonist Assembly, because we wasn't on during this weekend.
Exactly. So hope everyone had a great Mother's Day. And you were able to show your mother's appreciation. They much so deserve and need. I'm gonna go ahead and do this right quick. Give me a second. Try this.
Okay, on that note, sending these links out.
How's the music now? Wait a minute. No. Okay.
1 2 1 2. Crispy clear. Everything leveled at.
You said turn it down some more. What about now? Voice is still gravy. How about the music? Is that down enough? Perfect. Cool. Got it. Awesome.
And it's Monday, May 13th, 2019 at 8:11 a.m. this rising.
Exactly. So what we're gonna do is continue with these Indian Wars. We are still, believe it or not, on the Revolutionary War, and we are pretty much on our last tribe that is fighting on behalf of the.
Yeah, we still in corner number one.
Yeah, on behalf of the Americans. So, you know, what we're realizing, as you are realizing, that history is not linear, that it goes in all directions. So we're trying to cover as much of it as possible so we can put things in their proper perspective and give every tribe their proper attention and see exactly how things lined up or could have potentially lined up, because we're only looking at one source unless we have someone that's attached to their tribe that can verify or debunk the information that we have thus far. So the only two tribes that I'm aware of that we have members of are the Tuscarora and the Tabasapani.
Oh, and respect for Copper Indio for going out over this weekend.
Yeah, he went to a Tuscarora powwow, and today he's going to be speaking with the chief's daughter, who actually is in control of the genealogy and application admission. So shout out to Copper Indio.
Salute.
Forgive me for sounding preoccupied. I'm pulling up the links now for the Indian Wars. So hopefully everyone had a great weekend and a great Mother's Day. And we're about ready to get started. Oh yeah, shout out to James, Doodle Vision, and for LJ Free for going to the Ross Cemetery out in Texas. They got an opportunity. That's the oldest cemetery in the South. So they went around to visit some ancestors, and I found out some pretty good information. So maybe
got a close relationship with calamine lotion.
There you go, James. I ain't do that.
I'm helping them out. But that's what's up. Much respect for them going to visit that and also sharing information and pictures and stuff from their trip. Appreciate that.
I want to give a shout out to Carrie Bay and his relatives / family for hosting us this weekend while we were in New Orleans. It was it was a great visit. The weather didn't allow us to visit many tribes that we wanted to, but we will be going back. So we will make sure that get done. Have some interviews in the works via phone. So again, shout out to Gary Bay and his crew.
All in all, it's been a very traveling weekend, huh?
Very productive. And look, again, I want to send a shout out to New Orleans and how y'all deal with those what y'all call micro floods. Yeah.
They say you on a boat, huh?
Man, listen. I was on my way. We was on our way to the airport, and it was like 6:15 in the morning. I'm watching people walk in thigh-high water just above their knees on the sidewalk, and they were just doing it like it was just average to them.
It's the normal. It's the regular.
So, yeah, man.
How you like the cuisine?
The food was good, man, and I'm not a what you call a foodie. It's very, very flavorful. If you're into flavors and you really can appreciate how flavors from different environments are put together, then yeah, New Orleans is definitely a place to go. Um, for the best restaurants, Carrie was telling me the best place to go is on Bourbon Street. Um, what's it, Bourbon Street? It'll come to me. So, yeah, again, like I said, shout out to New Orleans and even Mississippi for how y'all deal with those micro floods out there. Cause yeah, that's not something I want to deal with.
So you like right where you at better now, huh?
I have a greater appreciation for what a flood can do. How about that? Because I actually seen cars go through the water and get stopped dead in their tracks. So yeah, we're gonna leave it at that.
I say on the east, we used to a traffic jam stopping traffic.
Yeah, not water. So again, shout out to everyone that was able to spend quality time with their mothers, their relatives, and get out to some of these events and talk to some of these tribes and visit some of these sites. So that's what's up, man. So I'm pulling up the Choctaw. I'll put it in that back chat. I was pulling up the Choctaw. Alright, here we go. I'll put it in the chat. I'll even put it in the back chat. So on already knowing that, we're gonna run into some stuff, some detours. I'm looking at this already, and I'm seeing a bunch of blue highlighted hyperlinks. So
Last time that happened, we discovered Joseph Brent.
yeah, tell me about it. So do you have the Choctaw pulled up, Bones?
Yeah, pulling up right now.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm gonna need you to read the maybe first paragraph or two, because I gotta take care of something right quick.
Okay, I got it pulled up. All right, it says the Choctaw. In the Choctaw language, Choctaw are a Native American people originally occupying what is now the southeastern United States, modern-day Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Their Choctaw language belongs to the Muskegon language family group, Hopewell and Mississippian cultures, who live throughout the east of the Mississippi River Valley and its tributaries. About 1,700 years ago, the Hopewell people built Nanaweya, a great earthwork mound located in what is centrally present-day Mississippi. It is still considered sacred by the Choctaw. The earlier Spanish explorers of the mid-16th century in the southeast encountered Mississippian culture, villages, and chiefs. The anthropologist John R. Swanton suggested that the Choctaw derived their name from an earlier leader, Henry Halbert, and historians suggest their name is derived from the Choctaw phrase, Hakachah Hatak, river people, H-A-C-H-A-H-A-T-A-K. It goes further down into state. So the Choctaw was concealed as a people in the 17th century and developed three distinct political and geographical divisions: Eastern, Western, and Southern. These different groups sometimes created distinct independent alliances with nearby European powers.
Stop right there. You said they broke into three different groups?
Yeah, distinct political and geographical divisions: Eastern, Western, and Southern. And it said these groups sometimes created distinct independent alliances with nearby European powers. Sort of like what we've seen so far. Tribe was split three ways because each one is working with a different European power.
So we're looking at what? The French, the Spanish, and the English?
Yep. Yeah, because it said these include the French based on the Gulf Coast and in Louisiana, the English on the Southeast, and the Spanish of Florida and Louisiana during the colonial era. During the American Revolution, most Choctaw supported the 13 colonies, bid for independence from the British Crown. They never went to war against the United States, but they were forcibly relocated in 1831 to 1833 as part of the Indian removal in order for the U.S. to take over their land for development by European Americans. Which we know on that, we know there's a little bit more added to that story, that they were actually given land because they never picked up arms against the United States out west. It goes further on to say, in the 19th century, the Choctaw were classified by European Americans as one of the 5 civilized tribes because they adopted numerous practices of their United States neighbors. The Choctaw and the United States agreed to 9 treaties. By the last 3, the U.S. gained vast land cessions. They removed most Choctaw west of the Mississippi River to Indian Territory, sending them on a forced migration far from their homelands. Choctaw was the first Native American tribe forced to relocate under the Indian Removal Act. The Choctaw were exiled from their land because the U.S. desired its resources and to sell it for settlement and agriculture development by European Americans. Some U.S. leaders believed that by reducing conflict between the peoples, they were saving the Choctaw from extinction. The Choctaw negotiated the largest area and most desirable lands in Indian Territory. Their earlier government had 3 districts, each with its own chief, who together with the town chief sat on their national council. They appointed a Choctaw delegate to represent them to the U.S. government in Washington, D.C.
Can you read that part one more time?
They appointed a Choctaw delegate to represent them to the U.S. government in Washington, D.C. But before that, it says the Choctaw negotiated the largest area and most desirable lands in Indian Territory. Their earlier government had 3 districts, each with its own chief, who together with the town chiefs sat on their national council. And they appointed a Choctaw delegate to represent them to the U.S. government in Washington, D.C. But you know what's weird on that? How you gonna say in one thing that you forcibly removed them, then you come back and say that they chose the largest and most desirable lands? That don't sound like force. I'm just saying.
Well, one way it could have been done is that, of course, we know that these treaties came about because of the wars, but the decision to fight on one side or the other was based off of a promise that if you help us fight and we win, then you get certain land. So you had the verbal contract before the war or the dispute, and then you had the signed contract or the treaty after the war. And I'm going to make the assumption, erroneous or not, that being that Indians are people of their word, if they said they was going to do something, they did it, regardless of what happened. So if they said that they was going to fight, and based off of what the outcome of was awarded would be promised certain lands, they did it based off of that promise. Now, what probably happened, again, we haven't confirmed this, especially with the Choctaw, is after the war was fought and there was either a victory or a defeat, I'm sure there were some changes in the contract or adjustments in the written contract versus the verbal contract, if that makes sense. Because if you think about it, normally when 2 parties go into agreement or business, a deal, there is an agreement that's normally written, and then as things come about, then there are adjustments made after you've put together your council, your
deal.
Say again, Bones?
For most deals, there's always a third party. When it comes to contract signing,
True.
I always wonder who was always a third party in these treaties.
But didn't they speak of agents and delegates? I mean, because we've heard from different when it comes to the Lenape and it comes to the Mohawk, they had agents that they were dealing with, agents and individuals that were able to go between both parties. So maybe for the Choctaw, it was the delegate that was a go-between.
Kind of funny how athletes and entertainers stuck with these agents now, huh?
I mean, a lot of these teams have named after tribes or some type of Indian slang?
Yep, and your agent is the middleman that negotiates between you and the team. Sort of like how some agents negotiated between the Indians and the government, the player and the team.
Well, some things appear coincidence, but we know that there is no word for coincidence in any Indian language, at least not to my knowledge thus far. So I have to look at it for what it is. Now you say that they has the Choctaw has signed 9 treaties with the United States. I mean, with the Europeans. Do they list the 9? Because I'm still away from the computer.
Yeah, it says as I'm going through it. It jumped on me again. I hate when it does that. Indian Treaty, Indian Removal Act, Settlement. Yeah, 9 treaties, but it don't say any of their names yet. Probably as we go down, it'll probably start mentioning the names of them. But let's see. Let's finish reading here. It says in the 19th century, we did that. The Choctaw were classified by Europeans as one of the 5 civilized tribes because they adopted. All right, we went through that. All right, we went through that. Trying to find out where we left off at. All right, we left off at they appointed a Choctaw delegate to represent them in the U.S. government in Washington, D.C. Goes on to state by 1831, the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek, that's the first treaty that's popping up. Those Choctaw were to choose to stay in the newly formed state of Mississippi were to be considered state and U.S. citizens. They were one of the first major non-European ethnic groups to be granted citizenship. Article 14 in the 1830 treaty with the Choctaw stated Choctaws may wish to become citizens of the United States under the 14th article of the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek. Hold on. Somebody knocking on the door. Hold on, y'all.
You said under the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek. Let me go ahead and pick up. And then see if I can find it. It says by the 1831 Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek, those Choctaw who chose to stay in the newly formed state of Mississippi were to be considered state and U.S. citizens. They were one of the first major non-European ethnic groups to be granted citizenship. Article 14 in the 1830 treaty with the Choctaw stated Choctaws may wish to become citizens of the United States under the 14th article of the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek on all of the combined lands which were considered under Article 1 from all previous treaties between the United States and the Choctaw. So the first treaty that we're talking about is the 1831 Treaty of the Dancing Rabbit Creek. Well, let's give everybody a shout out who just chimed in, who just came in that I saw. Peace, Pamela Hall, Jay Susquehanna, What's going on? Hope everyone's doing well. Jay says, 7 Southern nation states of America walked out of the second session of the 36th Congress on March 27, 1861. You jumping ahead, Jay. I'm just playing. But yeah, that's facts. He says, is that what we're talking about?
I'm sorry. Yeah, we didn't get to that point. Yeah, we didn't get to that point yet, but we're working our way there.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, but that 1861 Indian Congress walkout has a lot more to do with the Emancipation Proclamation. But we're getting there.
So the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek. So give me a second. I'll put that in there. And we're going to get started. So let me go ahead and put this in the chat. So right now what I'm putting in the chat is the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek. All right. And really, that's what we doing. What's going on? How you doing, bro?
What is up? What's up, y'all? What's up, Bones?
Not much. How you feeling this rising?
I'm all right. I am all right. My bad. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. Just wanted to know what territory we was in.
Yeah, we're talking Choctaw, and we're talking the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek, which I just put in the chat. Do you need me to put it in the back chat so you can follow along?
Nope, I'm good. I got the chat up.
Okay.
You talking about my people, probably? Okay. All right.
Okay. So it says the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek was a treaty signed on September 27th, 1830, and proclaimed on February 24th, 1831, between the Choctaw American Indian Tribe and the United States government. This was the first removal treaty carried into effect under the Indian Removal Act. The treaty ceded about 11 million acres of Choctaw Nation in what is now the Mississippi, in exchange for about 15 million acres in Indian Territory, now the state of Oklahoma. The principal Choctaw negotiators were Chief Greenwood LeFleur, Mushola TV, and Mitu Kachi. The U.S. negotiators were Colonel John Coffey and Secretary of War John Eaton. So I'm gonna read down to this next paragraph, and then we're gonna come back to Chief Greenwood LeFleur, which sounds more French than Indian. But anyway, the site of the signing of this treaty is the southwest corner of Noxubee County. The site was known to the Choctaw as Bach Chukpi Hilha, which translates to creek, Bach, rabbit, Chukvi, place to dance, Apache Hilha, or Dancing Rabbit Creek. The Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek was the last major accession treaty signed by the Choctaw, with ratification by the U.S. Congress in 1831. The treaty allowed those Choctaw who chose to remain in Mississippi to become the first major non-European ethnic group to gain recognition as a United States citizen. I'm going to repeat. With the ratification by the U.S. Congress in 1831, the treaty allowed those Choctaw who chose to remain in Mississippi to become the first major non-European ethnic group to gain recognition as United States citizens. Now, let me guess that those who chose to stay in Mississippi did not know that they was going to become citizens. They probably found out after the fact. What y'all think?
Yeah, remember we read that when the Choctaw got out there to out west of Oklahoma, the ones that got out there and settled on the reservation. Mm-hmm. Remember they messaged back that the ones that stayed were no longer Choctaw.
Okay. Yeah.
So because you didn't move with that tribe, then you were now citizens of the United States, and you were no longer Indians.
Were there any that were considering themselves not members of the United States?
Come back in a year. Remember, it took 6 months to get out there, 6 months to get back, and some of them had a year to get back. And remember, that's the when they did the census 4 months early.
Yep. Well, the ones who who stayed and the ones who wanted to come back that didn't make it back, were they still trying to consider themselves Choctaw? If the tribe,
No, if you came back, you was considered a U.S. citizen.
The more important question for me is if if you decided to stay, right, and you were part of the council. Because think about this, there had to be a council meeting before they moved out, right?
Yep.
And there had to been some sort of meeting to say, hey, we're going to separate. You're going to be the chief here. You're going to run this, y'all, a council, because they're separated. So it's no different than if I form a corporation, or say for instance A2 decides to set up a headquarters. Let's just say they decide to set up a headquarters in the 757, right? That means Bones, you and your crew stand in Georgia. No sellout. You and your crew are in 757. So now there has to be a whole new charter, because there needs to be a chief in the 757. Someone who's going to run. There also needs to be a council.
yeah, I hear you.
So that's like no sellout leaving A2 in Georgia, going to Virginia and saying, hey, you know what? Since you didn't come up this way, Bones,
you ain't A2 no more.
You ain't A2 no more.
I mean, that's the reaction you're gonna get from somebody that's Choctaw. I mean, I'm just laughing. I'm sorry. Laugh at you, bruh. And tell me who I am now. All right.
What? Huh? What? But just imagine at this time.
I know.
It's close 6 months to get back.
Yep.
So it would take you 6 months to locate somebody to choke them.
Yep. Exactly. That's slow. That's a slow death.
Mm-hmm. Very.
Man. Both ways.
So it sounds like to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but if that wasn't already ratified in the tribe's constitution, that decision was unilaterally made without the input of the Choctaw that got left behind. Sounds like there's a potential that some of these Indian tribes were following the Europeans and breaking their own constitution and their own bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
And if these tribes actually have the original constitutions from before they left or before they separated, yeah, these 5 nations might be in more trouble than they anticipated.
That's why if you look at the court cases so far, Seminole loss, Creek losing.
It's like they don't have a template. Why the loser don't have a template?
No, it's because you have to remember TMH hit it right on the head. See, we always hear about these tribes, Northern Band, Southern Band, Eastern Band, but you have to realize what they really are. They the remnants of the split. So each one of these sides will have a constitution. Because some people didn't leave, some people left and created a whole new thing with some more Indians and settlers. Yeah, what he said, I thought about that. If you can get your hand on the original treaties, those probably the ones Congress sitting on.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the original treaties, but the original constitutions of the tribes before they broke up and split up. But think about it. Yeah. If you're going to travel across these lands as a tribe or a confederation, then it would behoove you to have your documentation in place. Or unless you're all pushed up under the Confederation of Cherokee, and then the Cherokee could then deem you whatever tribe that you are and determine who those chiefs are and who sits on the council. Which still seems to me that they're in violation of their own constitution, because they did not allow those that were left behind the right to vote.
And then in some of them cases, the ones that got left behind, they reclassified them as what? Freedmen.
So could freedmen mean that they were freed from the tribe?
From the tribe, yep.
Or they were freed from the Constitution?
Free from something. Could have been anything. Every last one of them ex-slaves, supposedly. Bondage, free from bondage.
Free from your obligations.
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Servitude.
those are some good questions that need to be answered. And I know that Doodle Vision I think he's a Choctaw, isn't he? Isn't he Choctaw on one of his sides?
I believe so. Definitely.
Jay Sasquatch said they were free from being Indian, killed the Indian, saved the man. I mean, that's another way to look at it, Jay. I mean, real talk.
Yeah, we see a lot of splitting up. Particular parties in the tribe wanted to go particular ways. But you see it now, growing up in the neighborhood with your homeboys. As time go on, people break and go to separate ways, do their own thing. Some people remember you, include you into it. Some people just completely become something new, different. Not saying it's right or wrong, but we all have seen this play out in our lifetime.
Antonio says, peace Antonio, he says, I found a couple of our ancestors in Louisiana on a couple of Freedmen Bureau lists. That's going to be interesting. Sounds like we got some more people out there doing some searching and researching.
Get that man the golden shovel.
Jay said that's what they said. Kill the Indian, save the man. I got you, Jay.
Yeah, that was their political. Yeah, that was they actually had a political campaign at this time.
Yeah, thanks for reminding us and putting us out there, because you're right, they did say that. So let's do some research on this principal Choctaw negotiator who was Chief Greenwood LeFleur, spelled L-E, capital F-L, well, capital F, L-O-R-E.
Hey, he don't sound French to me.
No, I'm not a linguist, but he do sound like he So I'm putting this in the chat for those that want to follow. Greenwood LeFleur, or Greenwood LeFleur. They separated the L-E from the floor. June 3rd, 1800 through August 31st, 1865 was elected principal chief of the Choctaw in 1830 before the removal. Before that, the nation was governed by 3 district chiefs and a council of chiefs, a wealthy and regionally influential Choctaw of mixed race who belonged to the Choctaw elite due to his mother's rank. Wait a minute. Why does this not sound like the Mohawks? A wealthy and regionally influential Choctaw of mixed race who belonged to the Choctaw elite due to his mother's rank.
Joseph Brant.
Yeah, I know, right? LeFleur had many connections in state and federal government. In 1830, LeFleur led other chiefs in signing the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek, which ceded the remaining Choctaw lands in Mississippi to the U.S. government and agreed to removal to the Indian Territory. It also provided the Choctaw who chose to stay in Mississippi would have reserved lands, but the United States government failed to follow through on this provision. And if you think about it, I know how they did it. Bones, did you catch it? So I'm gonna read it again.
Can you run that back? Y'all about to I was trying to find a mute button.
It says, LeFleur led other chiefs in signing the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek, which ceded the remaining Choctaw lands in Mississippi to the U.S. government and agreed to removal to Indian Territory. It also provided that Choctaw, here's a key word, Choctaw who chose to stay in Mississippi would have reserved lands, but the United States government failed to follow through on this provision. Why did the United States not have to?
When the chief and them got out west, they disowned the Choctaw that stayed and made them U.S. citizens. So technically, legally, there were no more Choctaw.
Bingo. So they got sold out by their own people.
Mississippi.
So they got sold out by their own people.
Their own people sold them into slavery in a sense. In the sense, because they made them Think about it. You're a slave once you become a U.S. citizen. I don't care what you want to say. If you're a U.S. citizen, you're a slave. You working a 9 to 5. Let's start looking at what slavery really is. It's labor. Not that image that they tried to paint you with roots and whipping people. No, it's labor.
Trading your time.
So let's go over this. Let's go over this again for the people who do not want to accept that we were sold out by our own people. Greenwood LaFleur, who was elected principal chief of Choctaw in 1830 before the removal, he was responsible for getting other chiefs to sign the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek. The treaty seceded basically Mississippi to the United States. And then in turn, they got what is known now as Oklahoma. Those that chose to stay, the Choctaw that chose to stay, who remained Choctaw until the Choctaw that moved to Oklahoma decided that y'all are no longer citizens. So up until that time, the Choctaw was under the impression, the Choctaw that stayed in what is now Mississippi, were under the impression that they were going to have their own lands, just like the Choctaw who moved.
Mm-hmm.
But what they found out was because the tribe that moved, that had the power, decided you're no longer Choctaw, you're now United States citizens, you don't get Indian land because you're not Indian.
Indian land, none of the benefits, none of the rights. Nope, matter of fact, we're going to place you under the jurisdiction of the United States. And that could, and who's to say, how are we not to know that that wasn't part of that negotiation?
It's very possible.
That, listen, we'll let you have them for a labor force, and we want this. Because we know what bit the Choctaw in the end. The land they happened to chose later on, come to find out had oil, and the United States came back in for it.
Yep, because oil starts to get struck in the latter quarter of the 1800s.
And that device of letting the United States government pick their leaders, that's what was their downfall in the end. Because they got supplanted.
It says, while many of the leaders realized removal was inevitable, others opposed the treaty and made death threats against LaFleur. He stayed in Mississippi, where he settled in Carroll County and accepted United States citizenship. He was elected to the state government as a legislator and senator in 1840s. During the American Civil War, he sided with the Union. Whoa.
I wonder why.
So he stayed.
Yeah, they probably awarded because he became a senator.
So you know who was awarded that land? He was.
Yep.
I'm Flying Squirrel says, when the oil struck, so did Child Protective Services.
Yep. Ain't that funny?
It says he stayed in Mississippi, where he settled in Carroll County and accepted United States citizenship. He was elected to the state government as a legislator and senator in the 1840s during the American Civil War. He sided with the Union. So
No sellout.
Mississippi siding with the
What
Union.
did you studying? Carroll County, Mississippi. Was that no sellout study in Carroll County, Mississippi?
I don't know. It sounds familiar though.
Yeah, I know somebody was researching that area for family.
So let's find out a little bit more about Greenwood LaFleur.
Please don't do my family. Everybody selling out.
Peace, Joshua. He says, really wish family would have just wrote down or at least know the whole family. This is BS because it's so simple. But Joshua, here's the thing. I don't know if you've been listening to the show or some of the shows from other people who deal with indigenous information, but the actual tribes that are on the land, they have the names. Those names are known. And many of the genealogists that are on those lands can tell you basically where your family was from and what county they resided in. So they do know. The problem is because many of us are making a choice not to tie back into them, we don't know. And let's be real. If you're not coming home, I'm not giving you that list. I'm just being real with you. Because if you left home, right? It's like this: you leave home, and the phone number to your house doesn't change. The phone number to the house of your parents don't change. But you never call, and you never pass that phone number down to your children. So your children don't know to call home. If you the parent, then the grandparent, then the great grandparent, then the great great grandparent, then the great 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 grandparent, then the great 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 grandparent, and you're passing the fact down that, hey, some of our children are going to be calling, just pick up. But they never call. Are you gonna call in? Remember, they left. Now I don't know how it works in y'all house, but in my house, you know, when my children left, they called and checked up on me. They called to see how I was doing, and I would call them every once in a while after I talked to them. You know, because you know they grown, they on their own. You call to see if they need anything, but they reach out first. That's just the way it's always been in my house. I can't speak for anybody else's household. That's how it's always been in my household. So when people ask, well, why didn't they reach out? I mean, if you're not calling me, obviously you don't want to talk. That's like somebody hanging up on you. You hang up on me. Why am I calling you back? That don't make any sense. Obviously you hung up because you ain't want to talk.
Yeah, no.
And then if you leave and then you don't call me to let me know you made it there safe or to let me know everything is okay, obviously you don't want to talk. I mean, that's just my take on it. That's just the way I look at it. That, you know,
I look the same way. I ain't finna run you down.
Right. There are many other perspectives. I'm sure that they are, and they're probably just as valid. But I'm looking at it from the standpoint of how my household was raised and how, you know, how I've heard how other households is raised.
Walk out that front door if you want to. Easy to walk out. Not that hard to come back in.
And Joshua says sometimes a part of the family keeps other parts separate for seemingly secret reasons. And that is true. And what we're finding out, Joshua, is that there were a lot of secrets. There were a lot of sellouts. There were a lot of family issues that, you know, some people just choose to keep from their kids. But at the end of the day, it is our responsibility for us as the children, as the descendants, to find out what happened so we can fix it, because we're going to continue to go through the same cycle until we fix it, until we get back on code and make it right. You know, I can blame my mom and dad all day long for not doing the right thing, but now I'm an adult. I'm no longer a child. So now I have to fix it. So, you know, I'm saying it from the standpoint so everybody else can hear. Some people are not able to look at the chat, so this is not directed at you, Joshua. I'm making a conversation and keeping everybody abreast of what we're talking about, being that they may not be able to see what you're saying, they can only hear me. So at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to find out what happened. It's our responsibility to get back on code. It's not their responsibility. They never left. They've been look at it this way. They've been holding on to the fort waiting for reinforcements. They've got stuff in place so that we can come back home. They got a table set for you. All you got to do is carry your sorry tail home and answer the roll call. But instead, you want to go do your own thing and get your own land and create your own tribe. So you're basically disrespecting your family.
That's straight disrespect to the ancestors.
Look at it this way too. Why are we so pig-headed that we are willing to let them risk everything they have for us? That doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? We want them to come out and speak and say certain things, knowing when they leave the reservation, they're outside of tribal jurisdiction and now they back in U.S. jurisdiction. So we want them to jeopardize everything that they got going on, all the people they taking care of back on these tribes for a couple of us because we don't want to get on code, because we need our ego stroked. Are we going to let our pride get in the way? Really?
Jay says, so they were fighting for Indian rights, Negro rights during the Civil Rights era. The Civil Rights era, Jay, was more about the silent. The civil rights era was more about the silent minority, the white woman, the European woman. Remember that when they came over here, they had no rights. They came over. Many of them came over as slaves. So that Civil Rights Act. Think about it, if you go back and look at the Civil Rights Act, and you look at all of the things and all the individuals, all the parties that benefit from it, they tied that into women's rights as well. So if you think about it, civil rights on its face appeared to be more for Negroes, but the European woman ended up getting more of a benefit than anybody.
Yeah, even look at affirmative action. People don't realize more European women went to college offering affirmative action than melanated people did. Just check the stats and the numbers. Why do you think doing the so-called Black Power movement, the fist in the air, now represents the woman movement? Nobody's seen how they just slowly snatched that from you, huh? They always use that energy. What was the article that we read when a European lady was talking to the Indian lady? I think it was about 2 weeks ago. When she was like, if we can combine together, we can get this done. But they was just using the Indian lady just to get rights. Because that fight and that argument was never the melanated woman's fight. When was the Aboriginal man ever in charge to hold down the Aboriginal woman? What system did we control to allow them not to be equal? In our system, women was able to hold power and rulership as well. It's in their system that they didn't adopt that until they came over here and seen us. And Queen Elizabeth hijacked the whole system over there.
Jay says, but Negroes were stripped of their rights after they gave up their Indian identity to become citizens. They were then stripped of those rights, correct? Well, here's the thing, Jay. What we're seeing is that the only reason they were stripped of those rights is because individuals like Greenwood LaFleur sold them out. At the end of the day, they could not have sold out these Indians in Mississippi without somebody signing that treaty and having that backdoor deal. Because if you come back and tell me that once you go to Mississippi, you go to Oklahoma, and I say here in Mississippi, I'm a Choctaw. But the moment you get to Oklahoma, you then send back word that I'm no longer Choctaw. What am I? If I'm no longer Choctaw, then by default I'm a citizen. But I couldn't be a citizen until you declare through the council and through the arrangement of the Choctaw Indians in Oklahoma that I'm no longer Choctaw. I didn't choose to be Choctaw. I didn't choose to be a citizen. And the United States didn't make me a citizen. My tribe made me a citizen when they kicked me out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that we're not looking at. We're not accepting that. We wanna place 100% blame on the Europeans. Now, yeah, they got a lot of blame. I would even say it's 60-40. But we can't neglect that 40% that we're responsible for. Greenwood LaFleur is part Indian, and he's part French, which I'll go in and read about his history now. And you'll find out, just like Joseph Brant, he was doing backdoor deals and he was cutting side deals. He ended up being a governor of Mississippi, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So he stayed in Mississippi. Now think about this. The one that sells you out, and you know he sold you out, you can't touch him because he's under military protection. But you lose your right to become Indian. Who are you going to be more mad at, him or the government? I'm just saying.
And you heard that other Indians and other chiefs wanted to kill this dude. Was it last week we read about some tribes that were so pissed they did kill their chief behind these deals?
Yeah, they tomahawked the chief. They went and got him. And the government can protect him. That was when we was reading up under the Catawba.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the Algonquin remnants from there. Iron Flying Squirrel says that can't be an Indian name. No, LaFleur is not an Indian name. It says LaFleur was the first son of Rebecca Cravat, a high-ranking Choctaw daughter of Chief Pushmataha and Louis LaFleur, a French fur trader. There we go, them furs again. An explorer from French Canada who worked for Patton Leslie and Company. Whoa. So LaFleur was a French fur trader and explorer from French Canada who worked for Peyton Leslie and Company. And it was a company of Scottish merchants active in trading in the Bahamas and with the Native Americans of what is now the southern eastern United States during the 18th and the 19th century. But we'll go back to that. Based in Spanish Florida.
But what Indians would be able to give him certain control over fur trade? See, I'm noticing something, that a lot of these French half-breds, they saying chiefs and all this and that, but why they not using the Iroquois name no more? Because a couple of years ago, they were calling these people Iroquois.
You gotta realize this is the Choctaw.
Yeah, no, what I'm talking about in the area though, they're in the same area, in the Mississippi, Louisiana fur trade area. Remember when the Iroquois worked with the French to dominate the whole area for the fur trade? So basically, anybody dealing with fur, you would be dealing with the Iroquois. Some form of them. Some form of tribes that they had influence over with the fur. I'm just trying to put points together from what we read.
Right, this might have been what led to the Beaver Wars. Because remember, those are contracts that were contingent on people coming over and doing that actual physical labor. The Indians would catch the beavers, right? Or catch the animals for their fur, and then you have somebody do the work.
Yep.
So it says, so here we go. Based in Spanish Florida, because the Choctaw had a matrilineal system for property and heredity leadership, LaFleur gained elite status from his mother's family and clan. By the 1820s, as the historian Greg O'Brien notes, the Choctaw called such mixed-race children Iti Bap Ishi Toba, to become a brother or sister, which emphasized the connection to Choctaw or Isish, Ik, Lana, half-blood, which seemed to imitate Euro-American concepts. So again, half-blood, meaning half Indian, half European. It says O'Brien notes the importance of being first of all part of the Choctaw elite. Choctaw chiefs recognized the advantage of using such mixed-race elites men as trailblazers into unprecedented universe of capitalist accumulation and renewable wealth. I'm going to read that again. O'Brien notes the importance of their being, first of all, part of the Choctaw elites. Choctaw chiefs recognized the advantage of using such mixed-race elite men as trailblazers into an unprecedented universe of capitalist accumulation and renewable wealth. So with that being said, it's indicating or it's intimating or hinting that the chiefs who were not mixed recognized the advantage of using such mixed-race elite men as trailblazers because they basically was the best of both worlds. And again, consider this with take this with a grain of salt. There's some truth in this.
We talked about him before too, with Joseph Brand. It's not the first we talked about O'Brien.
Yeah,
because see, the one thing I'm willing to bet that they all had ties with each other. Because remember what they said. Him, this dude, and a couple of other chiefs. But what other chiefs could he get with? Wouldn't it be them other chiefs of mixed race? If the chiefs believe that they were elitist because of their mixed status, wouldn't you form a council to negotiate these mixed chiefs if you believe that they had a little bit more influence?
Well, yeah, because because now you're royalty on both sides. You're royalty on your mom's side because she's a princess or she's a high influential figure in the Indian tribes. And then because your father is either some high-ranking official or he's a high-ranking business owner, which appeared to be what LaFleur was. And if you were in India and you seeing your land getting taken, you might see, well, it's better, it's more beneficial of us to be the takers than the givers. So it says, some like LaFleur gained Euro-American educations that enabled them to negotiate the larger changing world developing in the American South. When LaFleur was 12, his father sent him to Nashville to be educated by Americans. Okay. So right now, at the age of 12, he's being sent to Nashville to be educated by Americans. I wonder what school he went to. So it says at age 17, LaFleur married Rosa Donnelly in Nashville, whom he met there and brought back with him to Choctaw Nation when he returned in 1817. After her death, he married again to a woman named Priscilla. He had 10 children. These were probably Greenwood's brothers and sisters, not his children. William, Benjamin, Basil, Clarissa, Forbes, Jackson, Emily, and 3 other daughters. According to other records, his children included Jane, married William Spring, John Donnelly, LaFleur Jackson, Jackson LaFleur, and Greenwood LaFleur by Rosa Donnelly and Rebecca, married James Clark Harris, and Clarissa married Chief Edmund Aaron McCurtain by Rosa's sisters Priscilla Donnelly. While LaFleur was not said to be popular among the full-blooded tribalmen, he became powerful and influential with the tribe at an early age, largely because of his mother's clan and maternal uncle's position and his own skills. With other leaders, he struggled to resist European American encroachment while adapting to some of the new ways and the increasing pressure from the United States government in support of removal. When LaFleur was 22, he became chief of the Western Division of the Choctaw Nation when it was still in Mississippi. He is credited with abolishing the Choctaw blood for blood law, which dictated rounds of revenge for murder. What? LaFleur supported the civilization program, which U.S. President George Washington and Henry Knox developed during the Washington administration, particularly after Andrew Jackson's election as president in 1828. He encouraged the Choctaw to make permanent residence, cultivate the land in agriculture, convert to Christianity, and send their children to United States schools for education. So I'm going to go back and look up this blood for blood law.
Yeah, while you're looking up that, I'm going to touch on something. It seemed like he encouraging them to get the land ready for farming, production, mechanize them. Then the next thing you know, move them out west. Because that is a good question. How did you get the white landowners in the South when we already know that in the 1700s that they wasn't going for it, that they wasn't letting nobody of European descent buy no type of land in the South, what we know as Georgia. Because it seemed like they used a lot of these mixed chiefs to break up the South.
It's looking that way.
It's like when I was studying the Andrew Jackson story, I was like, I find it hard to believe that they went on foot and horseback from Tennessee down to Florida. Then I had to remember Mississippi, New Orleans, and all that was Florida at the time. He didn't have to go that far.
Alright, so I think this is it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the chat. So it reads, it's under blood law. It says blood law, also called blood revenge, is a practice in traditional American Indian customary law where responsibility for seeing that homicide is punished falls on the clan of the victim. The responsibility for revenge fell to a close family member, usually the closest male relative. In contrast to Western notion of justice, blood law was based on the belief that the soul ghost of the victim would be forced to wander the earth, not allowed to go to the afterlife unless harmony was restored. Balance. The death of the killer or a member of the killer's clan restored the balance. Since this was a widely accepted custom, blood revenge prevented feuding. The families and the clans of the victims and perpetrators were at peace once the balance was restored. It was not uncommon for the clan of the killer to carry out the execution. There was motivation for this. If the offending party evaded retribution, any member of the offending clan could assess the penalty against any member of the offender's clan. I'm going to repeat that. Since this was widely accepted custom, blood revenge prevented feuding. It prevented feuding. The families and clans of victims and perpetrators were at peace once the balance was restored. It was not uncommon for the clan of the killer to carry out the execution. Okay. So the clan of the killer was the one that carried out the execution.
Your own clan will execute you.
Right.
But this is the funny thing. Like you said, removing that when it make it more possible for these wars, Civil War, Revolutionary War, Indian against Indian really to pop off now, because there is no system of checks and balances no more.
Exactly. There was motivation for this. If the offending party evaded retribution, any member of the offending clan could assess the penalty against any member of the offender's clan. The blood law worked without any government, since it was enforced by clans on a local level. Neither was there any formal trial. However, there was customary ways of getting a hearing, e.g. Cherokees had 4 towns of refuge where people were not allowed to seek revenge. Whoa.
Sound very familiar.
So Cherokees had 4 towns of refuge where people were not allowed to seek revenge. Also, an avenger could not touch an accused of a priest's property. The priest could arbitrate a call for counsel to examine evidence and witness. Blood revenge was a question of harmony, not necessarily of a vendetta. If a member from one clan killed a member of another, then balance must be restored. Blood revenge was considered very sacred and was carried out under the utmost sincerity. If a member of the clan should kill a member of clan, if a member of clan A should kill a member of clan B, the clan B would be owed 1 life, and the clan A would pay with a life. Usually, the eldest brother or nearest male relative of a victim was expected to be the avenger of spilled blood. As far as the aggressor concerns, the entire clan was responsible for the crime, and one of its members, and there were no exceptions. It was a system that worked well for the Cherokees because relatives themselves would bring the fugitive to justice to avoid like punishment. Staying on code, vouching for people. I'm gonna say it again. Staying on code and vouching for people. So think about this. If you knew somebody was a knucklehead and they going out doing stupid stuff, and you know that they were likely to go basically go kill somebody, right, of another clan. So think about this. Me, Bones, and Sellout belong to the Cherokee. Hypothetical. Don't get your panties in a bunch. And then I'm the rogue one, and they know I'm the rogue. And we right next door to some Choctaw, or we right next door to some Catawba, we right next door to some Shinnecock, or whoever. And y'all know that I'm crazy. And y'all know that at any moment I can kirk out and go kill somebody. If I go kill somebody, so now that I'm responsible for their life, right? I mean, y'all are responsible for their life if nothing happens. Meaning, I go kill somebody, so now there needs to be a life. So now, what would most tribes do? Now let's be realistic. If you know this was the system that you had to deal with.
Yeah. Oh, we cool with all TMAs, but yeah. Me and No Sellout, we already talked last night. Yeah, we gotta turn you in.
No, but think about this. If you know that I'm a knucklehead, right, and you know that I'm prone to do something like this, remember, because we got councils, we got members, we got family. We got to remember the women of the clans were the wisest. They were the one that chose the chief. So if they knew who was more likely to be a chief, wouldn't they know who was more likely to be a butthole or somebody that needs to be watched?
Yep. A system of checks and balances. You remove that, you introduce chaos.
Antonio says gang mentality. Well,
think about it. We've been harming each other with no consequences.
Yeah.
And it's still going on. Because what? The Once they remove that, think about it. We don't go out and hurt nobody else or no other who look different from us because we know there's a consequence.
Yep.
But they remove the consequences. Oh, go ahead and kill the Negro. He ain't valued. So what? Don't nobody care. You get what I'm saying? And we do it to each other. We do more damage to each other than anybody else do to us.
Exactly. Family Hall, is that better with the music? Let us know. And yeah, so gang mentality, Antonio, right now, that's what we living under now, gang mentality. If one of us, if I go out to kill somebody, then it's expected for Bones and no sellout to rep me and be like, yeah, we got your back. Not ask me what happened or why was it even done. They just gonna accept it, and now it's a badge of honor. That's stupid. What's the point of taking a life? If it's not in self-defense, why would you do it?
We flip the code. You know what I'm saying? We're living it backwards. And it's just like how I think we said this before. Look in our communities. Oh, free Rodney, free Pookie, free Willie. But what did they do? Think about it. We had people in our community that did some of the most worst crimes possible. And we wear a t-shirt, free them, let them go. Really?
So how's that any different than the no snitching?
Same foolishness.
How's that any different than no snitching? Because if you're talking about blood revenge, think about this. I'm less likely to kill somebody if I know that my own brothers are going to have to take me out for doing it. I'm gonna move a little bit more cautious, because I promise you, this rule was taught to children at a young age, especially because you know how children like to fight, especially the male boys. They like to fight and beat each other up. You grow up knowing that if your brother goes out and kills somebody, you're responsible for their life.
Could it be why we adapted to slap boxing so we don't hurt each other? Think about it. That's something that's universal in our culture. And just like you said, if I knew I could lose a family member, it was guaranteed I would lose a family member if I went out and hurt another family. Like you said, the chances of me doing it are slim, or the chances of my family letting me out of hand to go do that are very slim. Everybody takes responsibility. Everybody makes sure everybody is held accountable for their actions in that type of system.
At the end of the day, we keep with this outsider crap. You don't. If I invite you in my house, are you an outsider? I'll wait.
Yeah, we can't gloss over the fact that you had tribes inviting certain colonizers here, that you had particular Indians going over there as ambassadors, setting up treaties, which are nothing more than commerce deals. They were doing business. I mean, we can't brush it up under the rug. Yes, it's going to leave a sour taste in your mouth, but now you know the truth, what to do with it. The years and time of pointing blame is over with, because where did that get us? Nowhere. Now it's time for us to face the facts, be adults in the room, and fix it.
Because at the end of the day, I'm going to be like this. I ain't got no respect for somebody that's always blaming somebody for something. I have no respect for somebody that's always blaming somebody else for something. Because I'm going to tell you right now, since I've been on this planet, ain't nobody been able to stop me from doing what I need to do. Nobody. My biggest critics, my biggest roadblocks have been coming from people that look just like me. So if you the type of person that always want to blame somebody else and don't want to take responsibility, I can't deal with you, because to me that's weak. And I didn't come from an affluential family. I didn't come from a family that had a silver spoon in their mouth. I've been homeless before. There have been times where I didn't have anything to eat, so I don't want to hear the mess. So if you the type of person that want to blame somebody for your transgressions or for what happened to you and your people, to me you don't exist. You weak. It's just that simple. That's just the way I view you.
And look at it like this. What's done has been done. You can't change what has already been done. But what you can do, take the knowledge that you possess now to work to make it better. See, the only reason for studying the past should be to learn the mistakes so you don't make them in your present or your future. Not to sit back to get caught up on pointing blame and pointing fingers. No, you find out your mistakes, the mistakes of your past, the mistakes of your ancestors. Nobody's innocent in this. That's the first mistake. If you come into this journey thinking you're innocent and you're 100% the victim, that's mistake number one. Mistake number two, if you're not coming into it willing to accept whatever you find with the willingness to make it right so you don't leave it to the next generation, then you have another issue. See, we adopted a saying here at A2, all first things first. Everything else will fall into place, but you must address the first thing. You got to address that elephant in the room. Deals were made. Families sold families out. Yes, other people had their hands in it, but we got to deal with the parts that we had our hands in. We can't be worried about the wrong somebody else did if we're not going to fix the wrongs that we're responsible for first.
Big facts.
And again, it goes back to this. You're gonna correct somebody for saying black, but you're gonna correct somebody for not pronouncing a word correctly or using a word out of context, but you're not gonna correct somebody from scamming somebody. Man, get out of here. Go have several seats.
Few of them.
That's the stuff that we talking about. That's the stuff that don't nobody want to talk about. That's the stuff that everybody's scared to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We got scammers and people that are doing stuff to harm our own people, but yet still we want to point at the outsider. I'm not concerned about those that are on the outside. I'm concerned about those that are on the inside that are close enough to affect me and my people.
Facts.
Because it takes more work to touch me from a distance than it does to be next to me and touch me. And the only reason many of us allow people next to us is because they look like us, not realizing those are the ones that cause us the most harm. Have we not learned anything from what we're reading? Again, I am not exonerating or exempting or taking any of the responsibility away from the Europeans. That is not what I'm saying.
No,
I am
that
not.
Is not what I'm saying.
They were wrong for what they did, but they couldn't have done it by themselves. And that's the part people keep glossing over. They act like they came. People act like they came over. Again, if you can tell me how somebody in the 1600s whose boat had to be parked at least 14 miles from shore, coming over 4 men at a time with no guns, can take over a whole tribe.
Not a whole tribe, whole nations of tribes.
Whole nation.
Come on, man. Like I said, it gets a point in time you got to let the fairy tale go.
The elephant in the room is people are still supporting scammers. That's what the elephant in the room is. The elephant in the room is people still want to play both sides of the fence. The elephant in the room is people don't really want to be dealing with genealogy and they want to cause distraction. That's what the elephant in the room is. The elephant in the room is I've asked you many questions and you still haven't answered it. So that's what the elephant in the room is. Don't come in here playing with me.
Really? And that's really what it boils down to.
Because I treat you like the Choctaw and evacuate you out here. You won't ever be able to get back in. Don't play. This is your first warning. I like baseball. You get three strikes. That's strike one.
I'm going to say it's about finding who you are, finding what part you play in this, and picking up the responsibility and moving forward. And if that's not what you want to do, that's your choice. But don't stand in the way of the ones that's choosing to take on the responsibility to make sure the next generation don't have to deal with this BS. See, it's kind of funny. Even now, people keep talking about the outside of the outsider, but all the distractions that we deal with daily, where we doing builds or trying to do genealogy, it's not an outsider coming on these forums doing it. It's people within our own community. It's people that's supposed to be just like us are the main ones that's coming causing the distractions. Instead of bringing in information that can help someone in their daily life, we bring conjecture, foolishness, drama, distractions, and we wonder what holds us back. See, I'm the type of person, when people be hollering, oh, pale-faced colonizer, look over there. No, I'm looking dead at you. Because I know how that trick worked. I done seen that movie too many times. Blaming somebody else while you can keep stabbing me in my back. No, we ain't finna play that. We ain't finna play that. It comes a point in time to where we gotta stop the foolishness. If we really want better, then we must make the hard changes. We must. Or we fall a victim to the same old cycle.
And then you come in this chat asking somebody to make a list when you was a part of the phone call. So don't do that. You were part of the phone call. You know who the scammers are. Keep it up. You gonna get exposed. Keep playing with me. I'm gonna hurt more than your feelings. And that ain't a threat. That's a promise. Cause I released the audio that you was a part of. Do you really want me to do that? Since you want me to release a list, is that the list you want me to release?
I mean, it's simple. Because
don't
we're
know
here to build.
And if you don't know what the definition of a scammer is, then the list is not gonna matter to you.
Simple.
Tell you what, I'll release a list of the scammers when you tell me how a person decides can actually become a sovereign citizen, and it has actually worked and it's still working. You give me that. You give me what I asked for, because I asked for it first, and I'll give you what you asked for. How about that? I am fine, score. Not a rat in the chat. Just somebody that wants to play both sides of the fence at the end of the day, and they want to start some stuff. That's all.
More like we were saying, more distractions. It's simple. If you do not agree with the method and the process that we're taking, that's cool. But you don't have to come and cause distractions for the ones that's taking these methods and applying, or getting in the way of the ones that we're helping on a daily basis. See, this is where the issue is coming in. If you're for the people, then set mechanisms in place in helping the people. You can't say you're for the people and spend majority of the time causing distractions. Majority of the time, not bringing forth solutions. Just more questions after questions after questions after questions.
You're not bringing out one answer. Not one.
Then we just read that the chief, he's chief because his mother was an Indian and his father was a European. So still again, you're reading in the stories that these people are still tied into tribes. 2 weeks ago, we did the genealogy of the Bush family, showing you how they tie back into tribes. So I'm finna say it again. Keep saying send somebody home, arguing, they gotta go. But if they got their paperwork straight and you don't got yours, who finna go someplace now?
You are, not them.
I mean, come on. Most of your political people and people with high influence and power are tied into tribes. It's just like a lot of the BS that we perpetrate in our community because people claim they do research and don't even look. Some of the stuff you can find in 5-10 minutes. Holler and start your own tribes and stuff. We have a collection of hundreds of videos of people who tried and ain't nobody did it successfully.
Nobody. But won't nobody show you any proof that it has been done successfully. And again, I'm not saying it can't be done successfully. What I am saying is I have not seen it done successfully.
And we watched hundreds and hundreds of videos of it not working.
Right.
So if somebody out there, went to court, and it worked, can you please send us a video or the information so we know? Because to date, there's not one. And to date, the main person who's teaching everybody this, I'm finna say it again, is an Aryan racist. Isn't that crazy? On one hand, you keep saying you want to get away from the colonizer. You don't like the European. You don't want to be around them. But then you picking up his playbook. I'm confused.
Don't be. Your actions speak so loudly I can't hear a word you saying. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the blood law, which I'm surprised. Again, this is the first time I've heard of the blood law. If there's anybody out there that has heard of the blood law before, and there's someone that was talking about this, let us know so they can get their recognition for bringing it up, because this is the first time I've heard of it. I haven't heard of it before.
Mm-hmm. Sound like code to me.
I'm waiting on that answer. I'll wait. When you send it, we can discuss it. Until you send it, yeah, I'm not answering any more of your questions.
Back to our regularly scheduled program.
It says the United States discouraged the blood law, but generally left to the tribes the enforcement of the prohibited unless the murdered victim was non-Indian. Also, the government sometimes stepped in when blood law threatened to lead to war between two different tribes. Probably two different tribes. Well, probably tribes that was on the same side. Currently in the United States, only state and federal governments or military courts can impose the death penalty. Justice under blood law would be considered revenge killing or summary murder, and also could be an additional aggravating circumstance requiring the death penalty for the crime. Of course, the United States would discourage the blood law because they're trying to create divisions. The term blood law is sometimes used in a looser sense to mean any form of capital punishment or any form of collective revenge without a formal trial. In this broader sense, blood law was common in Western societies. It was called outlawing and was practiced as part of common law in England, Europe, and Iceland. A person could be declared an outlaw for refusing to submit to a legal system. Thereafter, such a person had no recourse to the legal system and could legally be killed or robbed. The use of blood law to refer to an outlawry may be considered ethnocentric. The term has also been improperly used to refer to a law passed by the Cherokee General Council on October 24, 1829, which specified capital punishment for selling Cherokee lands to foreign governments, in particular the United States. Whereas a law has been in existence for many years but not committed to writing, that if any citizen or citizens of this nation should treat and dispose of any lands belonging to this nation without special permission from the national authorities, he or they shall suffer death. Therefore, resolved by committee and councils and general council convene that any person or persons who shall, contrary to the will and consent of the legislative council of this nation, in general council convene, enter into a treaty with any commissioner or commissioners of the United States or any officers instructed that for the purpose and agree to sell or dispose of any part or portion of the national lands defined in this Constitution of this nation, he or they so offending upon conviction before any of the circuit judges aforesaid are authorized to call a court for the trial of any such persons or persons so transgressing. Be it further resolved that any person or persons who shall violate the provisions of this act and shall refuse by resistance to appear at the place designated for a trial, or abscond here thereby declared to be outlaws, and any persons or persons citizens or this nation may kill him or them so offending in any manner most convenient within the limits of this nation, and shall not be held accountable for the same. Cherokee General Council. Since this refers to Cherokee government law rather than traditional clan enforcement law and does not pertain to homicide, this is not blood law as understood by historians in Cherokee tradition. In fact, Cherokee blood law had been reformed in 1808 and abolished in 1810 with the introduction of light horse police force. This is similar. Blood laws led to low-level civil war among several of the five civilized tribes during and following their removal to the west. The most noted were the friction between the Lower Creeks and the Upper Creeks, and the killings between John Ross and Ridge factions of the Cherokee Nation, both of which lasted from the 1820s to the American Civil War. Among those who were executed under such laws were Major Ridge, John Ridge, and Elias Benoit. So here's the thing that I find interesting. It says It led to low-level civil war among several of the 5 civilized tribes during their removal to the west. During and following the removal to the west. So there wasn't a problem on the east. It was only a problem during and following the removal to the west. Why? Because you had all these tribes so close together. And they probably had some beefs anyway. That's just my opinion. That's just what I'm seeing from here. Anybody got anything they want to say about this blood law?
Also, you want to remove it if you're selling lands from Indians that don't belong to you.
Well, that law had nothing to do with the blood law. That was a law passed by the Cherokee General Council. It was mistaken as a blood law. You know how the Europeans can actually been known to change the narrative to enforce something or get something done. This was basically you sell land that you're not authorized to sell, and we gonna kill you. So that's what Greenwood LaFleur was responsible for. He was responsible for removing the blood law from the Choctaw tribes.
So no more checks and balances, huh?
In the way they narrate it says which dictated rounds of revenge for murders, but that's not what it says. That's the reason why they didn't hyperlink the blood law in there. You had to go look for it. It was a form of checks and balances. Again, Wikipedia, for what it's worth. Find your tribe. For those that are Choctaw, this will be something interesting to find out about what the situation with the blood for blood law was, and how it actually affected the tribes before, during, and after the fact. So it says, he encouraged the Choctaw to make permanent residence, cultivate the land and agriculture, convert to Christianity, and send their children to United States schools for education. So this is a chief of a tribe, not the Europeans doing it. Despite being recognized as one of the 5 civilized tribes, the Choctaw were under pressure from encroaching European American settlers. The settlers kept entering the Choctaw Nation lands in great numbers. The U.S. government wanted to remove the Choctaw to lands west of the Mississippi River. With the election of Andrew Jackson as president in 1828, who supported the Indian removal, many of the Choctaw recognized that removal was inevitable. They had concluded that they could not afford armed resistance. After passage of the Indian Removal Act in 1830, the chiefs of the western and eastern districts resigned. Whoa. And on March 15, 1830, the council elected LaFleur as principal chief, the first time that power had been so centralized among the Choctaw. He drafted a treaty which he sent to Washington to try to secure the best terms for Choctaw. So my question was, what caused these chiefs to resign? It says the chiefs of the western and eastern districts resigned, because remember it was a 3-chief council.
Remove the blood law. Now they're not safe. They can be touched with no repercussions. Their family members can be touched, especially if you're not backed by the U.S. military like this dude is.
Yeah. It says the United States representatives came out to the Choctaw for a treaty council where LaFleur used his formidable personal political capital and position as head of a unified tribe to secure the largest and most desirable areas of what will later be called Indian Territory. In addition, he believed that Article 4 would be honored and allow the Choctaw to keep some reserves in Mississippi. He regarded removal as inevitable, given his resentment of the politics and the sheer numbers of the growing European American population. The treaty included provisions allowing those Choctaw who chose to do so to remain in Mississippi and become citizens of the United States. But here's what people don't understand. The moment you become a citizen of the United States, you are no longer an Indian. Article 14. Each Choctaw head of a family being desirous to remain and become a citizen of the states shall be permitted to do so by signifying his intention to the agent within 6 months from the ratification of this treaty, and he or she shall thereupon be entitled to reservation of one section of 640 acres of land to be bonded by sectional lines of survey. In like manner shall be entitled to one half the quantity for each unmarried child which is living with him over 10 years of age, and a quarter section to such child as may be under 10 years of age, to adjoin the location of the parent. If they reside upon said lands intending to become citizens of the states for 5 years after the ratification of this treaty, in that case a grant in fee simple shall issue. Said reservation shall include the present improvement of the head and of the family, or a portion of it. Persons who claim under this article shall not lose the privilege of Choctaw citizens, but if they ever remove or are not to be entitled to any portion of the Choctaw annuity. But if they ever remove or not to be entitled to any portion of the Choctaw annuity. According to the historian James Tyler Carson's, the U.S. Indian agent William Ward refuses to enroll the Choctaw claimants reserves in Mississippi, which undermined LaFleur's objectives for the treaty and led him to consider it a failure. LaFleur's accomplishments in unifying and strengthening Choctaw people are still honored. As the historian James Taylor Carson writes, he was a Choctaw nationalist who sought to carve out a new and powerful nation for his people with the cotton kingdom of the Old South. His pragmatic approach to their removal from ancestral lands has been controversial. I bet it was. The Choctaw at the time believed that LaFleur had let them down and could have refused removal. Well, here's the thing I want to say about that. With the United States, now think about this. The United States could not make the Indians get rid of the blood for blood law. It took somebody on the inside doing it. So if it took somebody on the inside doing it, that means that these tribes were still considered autonomous, meaning that they could do what they want to do on their own lands. So because the government couldn't do anything externally, they had to get people implanted internally, meaning their own people.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if you're the type of person that want to blame somebody because you can't do something, come on, man. Stop it. Is it hard? Yeah, it's hard. Is it difficult? Yeah, it's difficult. But you can still do what you need to do in this land. All you have to do is understand the laws, understand the rules, and understand constitutions and bylaws. And it's not that hard. It's actually easy to get. It's actually easy to get a daggone IT degree, which most people are still currently trying to get. Some Choctaw at the time believed that LaFleur had let them down and could have refused removal. Bushula Tubi, who had resigned, took back his office as chief of the Western Division and rejected many of the civilizing measures which the National Council had ordered during the previous 2 years. The Western Division Council led a movement to depose LaFleur, and they elected his nephew George W. Harkins in his place. Jackson and other American leaders at the time had generally low opinions of mixed-race leaders. That's interesting. Instead, it related more to their own ideas of race than the ability to appraise the Native American leader. Carson believes that such negative opinions have affected the writing of historians for decades and their assessments of men such as LaFleur. He considers LaFleur and leaders like him to have been a new Creole generation, raised as Choctaw but absorbing what they could of the changing world to make a place for their people. In the event of Choctaw were awarded the largest territory of any removed tribe. In the event, the Choctaw were awarded the largest territory of any removed tribe. It was located in the fertile forest southeast corner of what is now Oklahoma. LaFleur did receive a grant of land in Mississippi for 1,000 acres of land. His grant by the treaty included allowances for unmarried children living with him, meaning his brothers and sisters.
And that's how he brought his family in. Well, the other side of the family in. Because this is the thing people got to remember. It's still their family. You understand? It's kind of hard to tell somebody to turn their back on their family. You get what I'm saying? Regardless if it looked like them or not, if they know they family, that's their family.
Right.
It doesn't make it right. But you can see the writing on the wall. I mean, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And he knew it was a setup because he don't even go.
He's more concerned with the politics side. He becomes senator. Let me read this. It says in the 1840s, LaFleur was elected Mississippi representative and senator. He was a fixture of Mississippi high society and a personal friend of Jefferson Davis. He was elected to represent Carroll County in the state house for 2 terms and elected by the legislature as a state senator serving 1 term. He became a wealthy planter and amassed a huge estate where slaves worked acres of cotton. Interesting. LaFleur wanted a manor house and befitted his status as a wealthy planter, so it talks about his mansion. I ain't really concerned about that. If y'all want to read it, y'all can. They do have a picture of him and his horse and carriage in the late 1800s. In the lower right-hand side, right above where it says "See also." So yes, he did own slaves, and I suspect the slaves that he owned were not of African descent. But anyway, now this is interesting.
It's funny so far. Every tribe that we done been through, when we come to the split, you always read about the mixed ones that become chief. That was more into the European cultures. Then you hear about a couple of them that didn't want to deal with them whatsoever.
It says that LaFleur occupied the mansion until his death in 1865, which was basically the end of the war. He was buried wrapped in the American flag on the estate. His body was later moved by angry members of the Choctaw Nation and buried face down in an unknown area. I'm sorry, but that's funny to me. He left, in addition to the mansion, an estate of 15,000 acres and 400 slaves. With the emancipation after the war, the slaves became freedmen, but many may have stayed on the plantation to work for his descendants. LaFleur descendants used the mansions until it was destroyed in a fire in 1942. Only a few pieces of crystal and silver and some chairs were salvaged from the ruins of the mansion. The horse carriage used to transport LaFleur to visit Andrew Jackson and other Washington, D.C. officials have been saved and has been preserved. So this is an Indian who's what they call half-blood. Now my terms with this. That sold out the Choctaw. He's giving credit for selling Mississippi to the United States. He's giving credit to getting rid of the blood from blood law that kept peace.
Mainly eye for eye.
I mean, if you think about it, an eye for eye is a good way to keep things in check. Think about this. The reason why most of us speed is because the consequence is not that great, right? You get a ticket. 9 times out of 10 you don't get caught. But why don't people generally commit a more heinous crime like murder?
Because of the consequences.
Right, the consequences.
But if you knew that your community, your neighborhood can inflict the consequences, what's the chances of your neighborhood being in shambles?
One of the things that could actually clear up a lot of this mess that people are obviously missing and scared to mention because they're scared to take their sorry tales home is that the tribes that are here that have passed this information down could tell us if this stuff is true or not. You can actually go talk to these tribal leaders and they could tell you what they know about this. Don't need a time machine. Just need to be brave enough to go talk to these leaders. And at the end of the day, you know, going back home, going back to your tribes will teach you a lot. You know, one of the things that we don't, we really don't talk about when it comes to Indians or being Indian is spirituality. And I'm a firm believer, and I could be wrong, and I will apologize in advance if I am wrong. I'm a firm believer, and from what I've been hearing and from what I've been seeing, people are under the misunderstanding that every tribe's spirituality is the same. That every tribe ties into their bloodlines and their ancestors the same way. That's not true. If you took the time to talk to these chiefs and talk to these tribes, you will realize that their spirituality differs not only based off of landmass, but based off of tribe. So the reason why I say that is because if we're going to be talking about spirituality, and I'm not trying to get too deep, but just from a practical standpoint, you're going to talk about spirituality, you're going to talk about tying it to your ancestors, right? Well, your ancestors are tied into the land that your people came from, right? So they have ancestral worship, they have ancestral and spiritual practices. If the spiritual practice of my ancestors who are in South Carolina are different than the spiritual practice of the ancestors, let's say in, I don't know, Kansas City, Oklahoma, or Utah, and then I go into Kansas City, Oklahoma, and or Utah, and I'm tapping into spiritual practices of people that are not my people, what am I tying into? Because those aren't my people. Wouldn't it make more sense for me to find my tribe, get connected with my people, so I can know exactly how we did it and handle our spirituality, what our sweatshops were for, what our ritual practices were for? Because I can almost bet you that the spiritual practice for Indians living on the East Coast are probably different than the spiritual practices of the Indians living in the Midwest and the spiritual practice of the Indians on the West Coast. And at the end of the day, if you don't know what your family's spiritual practice is, why would anybody with any sense whatsoever take on a spiritual practice of somebody without even finding out who your tribe is? And if you're not tied into a tribe, how can somebody tell you what your spiritual practices are? Think about this.
Goes back to knowing thyself.
Right.
Genealogy.
If you can't tell me who I am, then how are you gonna tell me what my spiritual practices are? So are you gonna get your information from some book written by some colonizer who you're banging on and saying is the oppressor to get your spiritual practice information? Or are you going to go to your tribe where your ancestors are from, where you're being tied to your land and tied to your people, and find out what your spiritual practices are? I'll wait. Because at the end of the day, anybody that's preaching that you need to find out who you are spiritually before you get back to your tribe, you got to question that.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is an instance where all the tribes on all the American land is practicing the same spirituality, please provide that for me, and I will apologize. But until somebody provides that information to where all the Indian tribes practice the same spirituality, then what you're telling me is you don't know what the practice is and you're just making it up as you go along. And my question to you is, why would you not encourage people to get with their tribe and practice their tribal spirituality, opposed to taking somebody else's tribal spirituality or taking some made up tribal spirituality? Because at the end of the day, if I don't know where I'm from, then how am I going to know what my ancestors practiced and what my ancestors did? Does that make sense? Or am I missing something? If I am, let me know. Because to me, that doesn't make any sense. You're going to tie into something or somebody or some group, and that's not even your people. Has it ever dawned on some people? Because I know some people don't travel and they don't go different places. For those of you who have ever traveled and went to other places, have you ever noticed that you go to some places or some states and the land or the atmosphere seems to attack you, where you leave one area where you normally have allergies and then you go to another land where you don't have allergies? or where you currently live, you don't have any allergies, and you go somewhere and you have allergies, or vice versa. Have you ever noticed that when you go to another country, you can't drink their water, but they can? There's a reason for that. You're not from there, and that's on the physical side. So if it's like that on the physical side and everything is balanced, wouldn't it be like that on the spiritual side? Or am I missing something?
Not to me. I mean, perfectly clear.
So if we're going to be teaching people that they need to get spiritual, then if you're not teaching people that they need to get with their tribe so their tribe can teach them what their spirituality is, and you're not enforcing that or endorsing that, my question to you is, why are you trying to tie people to a spirituality that has not been ordained by their own people? I have to question your motives.
I don't understand what's the big problem with genealogy. Why doing genealogy and finding your tribe and tying into your tribe is so much of a big issue? What is the major issue with this?
I don't get any answers from people.
The answer, if that could be answered, what is the biggest problem? What is the downfall? Why is it so much to push people the other way? That's what I'm not understanding.
I'm not even gonna. Anyway, my question is this, which goes back to the genealogy side. Some people are pushing genealogy, but some people are pushing genealogy, but they're not pushing back tying into your tribe. That's the question I want to know. You're pushing genealogy, but you're not pushing tying into your tribe. Why not? You're pushing genealogy, but you're not talking about trying to find out what your tribe's spirituality is. You're pushing tie into a spirituality and then find a tribe. How are you going to find out what your people's spirituality is if you don't tie into your tribe? I'm willing to bet that the Catawba of South Carolina don't have the same spirituality as the Creek Indians or as the Cherokee Indians in Oklahoma, in Kansas City, or other places. I'm willing to bet you. And if I'm wrong, I will apologize for being wrong. But I don't believe that's the fact. I don't. And I've talked to Indians from different tribes. They will tell you they don't have the same spirituality practices as other tribes. So if that's the case, then why would anybody want to tell you to find out who you are spiritually if you're claiming to be Indian? Because I'm only talking about being Indian, tying into your tribe. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about anything else. I'm not talking about Christianity. I'm not talking about Islam. I'm talking about Indian spirituality. That's what I'm talking about. You find out that you're an Indian, right? But you don't tie into your tribe to find out what your tribe's spiritual practices are. Because I can promise you they have spiritual practices. So you're going to encourage me to do my genealogy. But you're not going to encourage me to find my tribe so I can find out what my tribe's spiritual practices are. You're just going to say I should practice spirituality. Well, whose spirituality am I practicing? How are you any different than the colonizer who brought over here Christianity?
Sound like a missionary to me.
Again, if you're talking about taking on a spirituality that has not been proven to be from my tribe, but you saying I need to take on a spirituality, then what spirituality should I take on if it's not from my tribe? And if you're not emphasizing that, then what spirituality are you talking about, and what spirituality are you trying to get me involved in, and what is your compensation for doing so? Or what is your agenda for doing so? Your modus operandi. Why are you trying to get me tied into a spirituality that has absolutely nothing to do with my tribe? Why? I'll wait. Because again, like I said, I personally don't know of any tribes. I don't know or have not seen any information where all the tribes in the Americas, from Canada to Brazil, practice the same spirituality. So if we know for a fact that there are some tribes that do not practice the same spirituality, why are there people telling us we need to get our spirituality done first before we find our tribe? Unless there is a organization out there that totally believes on spirituality and you link through spirituality, which would be the reason why you don't encourage people finding their tribes. Because now we go back to your real motive or your real agenda. If you're trying to tie people spiritually, but you're not trying to get them to their tribes, then are you trying to be a sovereign nation? Are you trying to create your own nation? Are you trying to do something that goes against tribal law? Because if you're trying to connect spiritually with a group of people, spiritually, get you some land, put that land in a trust, and then go from that way and say we all spiritually connected, and you don't have any treaties existing with the United States or any of the United States allies, then aren't you by default declaring war on the United States? I'm asking because this is an area that's totally new for me.
Dun 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 dun. And I got a question. We released info of over 1,500 tribes so far, right?
Yep.
Basically, everyone here that listened to the different platforms and stuff on this believe that we tie back into tribes. We are the Indians, right?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
So if we know there's over 1,500 tribes here, and we know that tribes are sovereign, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the issue about tying in again?
That's a good question. I don't know. No one answers that question. I get a bunch of innuendos and a bunch of statements that don't answer the question. They sound like a bunch of colonizers to me that have been indoctrinated with their answers.
Because if there's over 1,500 of them, and there's people that's actually tying back in and registering to tribes and stuff and becoming tribal members, what's the problem again?
The problem is you having people asking questions and not answering questions, or being very vague and trying to cause distractions. At the end of the day, what it boils down to is people are scared. They're scared to talk they're scared to go get the money from the Europeans. They're scared to be business owners. They're scared to actually find out what's going on. They're scared to talk to tribal leaders. So what they'll do is they'll stay on YouTube where it is safe, ask a bunch of questions, and create chaos. Because they have no intentions on doing anything. They're scared.
So I guess a couple of interviews from these tribal chiefs and stuff that we got coming, that should zip all that up then.
Oh, it's gonna zip a whole lot of stuff. I'm just gonna expose a lot of people too. It's gonna expose a whole lot of people.
To say that they grouped all these tribes together and they became this and that, we know that happened. But if you was to do your genealogy, you would find your tribe and you would find your tribal story, then you would know your tribe's original name. So again, over 1,500 tribes, people are tying in daily through genealogy. What is the issue again? Or are you just distracting?
And again, so my question is, have you spoken? So you putting all this information out? How many tribes have you personally spoke to? I'll wait. How many invitations? How many appointments have you arranged to speak with tribal leaders? We'll get out the mist and get some clarity. That's the problem. Finning, getting ready, about to. Man, some people been finning to do something and ain't done nothing.
For 100-some years.
Yeah.
And this is where the misinformation come in. We have to stop putting stuff out there.
With no proof.
With no proof, no sources, no contacts whatsoever. And we say that from this platform because anything that we say from here, we always put the source and the contact out there.
You come this
because to say it doesn't happen would mean the majority of the people that you see in this chat or on these panels don't exist. Because there's a lot of people that's in these chats and on these panels that are tied back into tribes.
Facts.
So I'm like, to sit here and have these conversations daily on this, that, and people are actually doing it, what's your purpose again? Because if the system that we put in place is working, people are finding out who they are, getting clarity, and at the same time, gaining access to the resources, what's the issue again?
I don't know.
To me, that sounds like a workable solution in real time.
So let me explain the difference between getting ready to do something and doing something. Copper Indio, he made a call to the Tuscarora tribe. When was it? Last week?
Yes, sir.
And he went to the powwow when? This week?
This weekend.
And he's doing an interview when? Today?
Today.
So it's safe to say that instead of getting ready to do something, all you have to do is make a couple of phone calls and schedule a couple of appointments. Now you're not getting ready to do, you are doing. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
That's how we operate here.
I'm just checking.
Continent Assembly, the gathering of the minds that do the work. Nothing to sit back here and guess. Reach out and find out. That's what we do.
I know a lot of people getting ready to do a lot of stuff and haven't done anything. I'm just saying. Or in the midst.
You know, so I'm going to say again, what is the issue with doing genealogy, tying into your tribe, tying into the land, and moving forward? If it's working, what's the issue? Or even more, what's your solution?
And if your solution is whatever it is, can you give us one example of who did it and if it's still working? I don't think that's a lot to ask. I really don't.
Because what we talk about, we show every show how it works by the people that you see, by the ones that's in the chat. I said we didn't have to guess too much about the Tuscarora when we have a Tuscarora member on the panel that made the call to go sit down with the tribe and actually talk.
And you don't want to know something that's really funny about it? Copper Indio didn't tell us he was going to call. He just called. And then he told us, hey man, I'll be in North Carolina. I think it was North Carolina. Next weekend to visit a powwow with the Tuscaroras.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't tell us he was gonna do it. He did it.
Just did it.
It wasn't no I'm finna, I'm about to see what's gonna happen. It's about action. Again, your action speaks so loudly, I can't hear a word you're saying. And for those of you who've been finning and about to do something for a long time and haven't done it yet, the question is why? I'm sure you might have a good reason. You know,
choices.
Intentions can't be measured, actions can. You either did it or you didn't do it. Either it happened or it didn't happen. Either you're doing your genealogy or you're not doing your genealogy. Either you're tying it to a tribe or you're not tying it to a tribe.
There's over 1,500 tribes. They're not that hard to get in contact with. You can close your eyes and find one.
Hit dogs holler. I wasn't talking about you unless it's you. How many tribes have you called? I'll wait.
We gotta Mr. Reinvent the Wheel here.
And I don't have a problem. I'm not on your platform. You came to this one. So here's another thing I like to put out there. If you're going to come to the A2 platform and ask questions, this invitation is open to anybody. Please don't change the narrative and ask me what the problem is when I ask you a question when I am not at your house or on your site. I'm not coming to your site asking you questions. You're coming to here asking questions, and you've already been warned. If you ask questions, you will get answers. But when I ask you questions, don't punk out. Don't ask what the problem is. I'm not saying that there's a problem. If you want solutions and you're making statements, and then when I ask you for solutions, and all of a sudden you ain't got nothing to say, and then ask me what the problem is you asking questions, you want answers, but when I ask for answers, then there's a problem. The problem is you're not giving no answers. The problem is I didn't invite you over here. The problem is I'm answering your questions. The problem is I provided you with proof. The problem is you haven't provided me with any proof. And then when I start asking you for proof, then all of a sudden you ask me what the problem is. You're the problem. Quite honestly, you're the problem.
Thank you. You said you haven't found your tribe. Have you reached out to actually try to find your tribe? Come on now. See, that's what I'm saying. We have to stop this. We have to stop the BS, man. Come on.
And I see network. I'm a person that's really big on phonetics. Now I'm gonna say this with no disrespect, but to be as respectful as possible, you will never be me. You can only be you. That had to be said.
I mean, come on. See, if you have your own agenda, see, this is where I draw the line. If you have your own agenda, cool. Each has the right to do his own. But go to where you're going to build your platform and do your own. Because if you come here with the distractions, you already been warned. We're not trying to remove anybody permanently, but if you're going to come here and distract people from getting the information they need for the ones who want to know who they are, who want to tie into tribes and move forward, you will be removed. Now, it's all love until you cross the line of disrespect. And this is not our first conversation. Like TMA said, we done had plenty of meetings. Back to our prior days. So none of this is new. And I can see if you was a new person coming into this just meeting and just hearing this. But you know our stance. We've been saying this since we all was in one group together. So come on, man. Now, to make this go away, if it takes releasing tapes and blowing everything up, then so be it. Because we have nothing to hide. We have always been an open book. We have always been transparent. So before you open up that can, you better make sure you can deal with it and have your affairs in order. We know why we're here.
And my stance is this. Everybody should have the opportunity to correct a mistake, or correct a wrong, or correct an ill. I'm a firm believer in that. So if you scamming and you're doing something you ain't got no business, correct it. That's my stance on it. That's my position on it. Period, point blank in discussion. So my goal is not to harm anybody or cause anybody any financial damage. At the end of the day, I want us all to be able to be in a position to where we can take care of our families. So, for what it's worth, do your genealogy, tie into your tribe. And if spirituality is very important to you as it should be, if someone's telling you that you don't need to tie into your tribe to find out your spirituality, here's the one question you need to ask them. Well, two questions. Why do I not need to tie into my tribe to do my spirituality? And if you're telling me that I don't need to tie into my tribe to find my spirituality, who are you suggesting that I tie into to find my spirituality, and why? Those are questions you need to be asking for anybody that's teaching you don't need to tie into your tribe. You need to get spiritual first and then find your tribe. I would question their motives, because if you tie into your tribe, then you'll be able to find out what your tribal's spiritual practices were, which will align with you and your ancestors. And if someone's trying to deter you from that, or deflect you from that, or prevent you from doing that, the question that you should ask is why? Because it doesn't make any sense.
Pulling you further and further away.
It's like asking somebody to learn the tribe's language, but you ain't got no tribe yet.
Well, people are doing
I'm
that.
gonna learn your tribe language. You define my tribe so I can learn my tribe's language.
That's what I would think you would want to do.
I mean, you know what I say. Peace, y'all.
Speak to everybody else but my own tribe. What?
I'm a linguist in all other languages.
My tribe is Tutelo, but I'm gonna learn Algonquin. What?
Yeah, your people gonna look at you funny. Or at least they should if they don't.
But again, at the end of the day, people have their own reasons for doing their stuff, and if that's you, that's your thing. But here on A2, we have one mission, we have one goal, and at the end of the day, we trying to help people who, if you find out or if you believe that you're Indian or not, do your genealogy, tie to your tribe. And tribe doesn't necessarily have to be an Indian tribe. Whatever the tribe is, find them, learn about them, connect with them. I don't care what your tribe is. I'm saying tie into your tribe.
Pick up the responsibilities that we need to handle. We're not here to judge anyone, because we all gonna get judged in the end. All we're saying is, if you're with the distractions, the foolishness, never a solution, always an excuse, that's no longer welcome. Them days are over.
And even if you have your own ideology, that's great. That's fine. If you want to be your own planet, you want to be your own man, woman, your own god, goddess, that is great. That's not what we promote here. We promote being tribal.
That's it.
That's what we promote. We promote being tribal and getting on code. If you got a problem with that, then why are you here?
It's simple. I can never understand that. I am not putting my time. Time is the most valuable thing, because you can never get time back. You can get money back. You can get materialistic things back. You can't get time back. And I, for one, am not going to spend my time on something I don't believe in or support. There's something wrong.
Here's the way I look at it, because y'all know me. I like to keep stuff simple, because I'm not a very complicated person. At least I don't think I am. That'd be like the fact that, most people that know me know my eating habits. I don't eat pork nor beef, right? So that's like me going over to somebody's house and that's all they eat. All you eat is pork and beef. So I'm going to go over your house during dinner time.
This is a dinner party, right? Okay.
I'm going to your house during dinner time and then complain about all you having is pork and beef. And tell you why you should change your diet, and then ask you questions about why are you eating pork, why are you eating beef, this, that, and the third.
Not to mention, I'm in your house
right.
at the time.
Does anybody other than me see the idiocy in it? That would be stupid. Especially if I know what your stance is on the food you eat, and that's all the food you serve.
You had prior knowledge,
right? But I'm gonna come into your house and then bash you on why you serving steak and why you serving pig.
Out that front door.
And then you say to me, well, if you don't have to eat this is what we choose to eat. Why don't you just leave? And I go, well, I don't see why it's a problem that I don't think you should eat pork and beef. What? What's the problem? I just don't believe you should eat pork and beef.
First of all, you in my house.
You know what? If you knew me and I knew you, I probably knew you would have came over with that mess.
Probably why I wouldn't send you an invitation.
Like, you know what? That fool trying to come over here at dinner time. He don't even eat this. What? Hold on.
But what kind of sense does that make? What kind of mindset is that?
You gonna force your
right? You don't know. You don't believe in somebody's mindset, but you're gonna come into their house and talk to them about a mindset that you don't believe in. When one, they're not even bothering with you. They don't call your name. They don't send packages of beef or pork to your house.
Get out of here.
They're not even bothering you. They're not even thinking about you. But you're gonna go over their house during dinner time and then talk to them about the pork and beef that they eat. And then come on some. And then
every day at dinner time at that. Every day at dinner.
And then you're gonna come over there talking about some peace, peace, peace. I'm all about unity. If I'm missing something, let me know. Because, I could be wrong. This won't be the first time, nor the last time. I've been wrong a lot before. But that's just the way that I see it.
We all missing this one, Dan.
Would y'all go up to somebody's house and do that? I don't know. Would y'all? Y'all might. But
you better come over here and do that. I hope you prepare to get mushed that.
Free sit every day. Every day at 6 o'clock. We already know. Doorbell gonna ring.
You what should and shit. Telling you what should and shouldn't be in your refrigerator. Why you even in my kitchen man? Worry about your own kitchen. See, that's that mess I be talking about. Worry about everybody else's porches, but yours ain't straight. Worry about what's in my refrigerator, but yours empty.
So you so busy at my house worry about what I got in my refrigerator. You ain't minding your business and minding your house. Mind your business. If your business has nothing to do with my business, why are you over here?
Don't know you, man.
Golden Moon says I bring my own food. Bro, you know what? And I can respect that. I can respect that. No one knows everything. How do you know that?
Knows everything.
Have you talked to everyone? Oh boy, I love people.
To make it go there sometime.
People kill me making statements without any verification of those statements based off of their assumptions. I don't know what any one particular person knows because I have not ever in my lifetime spoken to everyone. So what you will rarely ever hear me say is I will very rarely make a statement including everyone, anyone, because
the words all or some like all, everybody.
Everybody knows. Nobody knows. Like when the anthropologist and archaeologist says no one knows what happened to the Aztecs. No one knows what happened to the Mayas. No one knows. Okay, I know 3 Indians specifically that know what happened to them. So that's not even a true statement. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to pick on people. I'm just trying to point out things that I noticed. I'm not going over your house every day at dinner time and then talk to you about why you shouldn't be eating beef or pork. That's just not me. You do what works for you. You know, and just because we don't agree on something, I'm not coming in your house and tell you how much I disagree with you. That's not helping me, nor is that helping you. Let the fruit that you produce be evidence of what you're doing.
Facts.
Yeah, I mean, even though your comment wasn't towards me, your comment was in the chat, so I was addressing what I saw. And again, to make that statement, that's just not something I would do. And who says all communication has to be verbal? So that's just me. That's just the way I look at it.
Don't we as a people know how to communicate without even making a sound? Don't we do it all the time when we walk down the street? We can just look at each other and communicate.
Yeah. So
a hand gesture, a head nod, a certain stance.
And at the end of the day, I'm not gonna go on your platform or anybody's platform that I don't agree with and try to change their mind or convince them. That's some old dictator stuff. I don't agree with you, so I'm gonna take my precious time that I'm not promised and then tell you why you're wrong. Who does that?
Yeah, we don't debate over here. No, we solution based.
That's precious time I could be doing to help my cause and my people and the people that I'm helping. Why would I spend time on your chat or your panel arguing with you, keeping you from being productive and keeping me from being productive? What idiot does that?
Man, that ain't the time.
I mean, that's just the way I look at stuff. You know,
we got to get out of this drama-infused culture, and that's the problem. the drama sales type culture. We got to start removing that. Like I said, and the only way it goes away, it's us, the ones that's in these chats, the ones that's listening. When something ain't right, stop giving it your attention. Stop giving it your time. If it means you have to turn it off and walk away from it until something better comes, then you do it. But if you keep participating in the BS, why would anything change? We must stop allowing this to maneuver among us. It's simple. Solutions is the time. All this debating, ideas and philosophies, that's just theater, that's show. It looks good. You do that to make money off your own people. We haven't learned that yet. Now it's time to start putting solutions out and start building and using these mechanisms that's been in place for years, that we've been so entertained that we haven't noticed them. But A2 is telling you they are here. They have always been here. Now it's time for us to get on code so we can start activating these things. But then the choice is yours. We're not going to pull nobody arm or force nobody to do anything. We're just going to get up every rising, as sure as the creator, allow us to take a new breath and put our best foot forward to helping as many American Indians and tribes as possible.
And Pamela Hall brought up a very good point, which I would like to discuss. She says, if someone comes to my house to eat and I know they don't eat what I eat, I do make sure it's something, I do make sure I cook something for them. Now, here's the thing about that, Pamela, and I understand your point, and I'm not disagreeing with it, and I'm not saying it's wrong. My point of view on that is, again, because it's based off of people's point of view. My diet is based off of eating certain things I know that are healthy and knowing that certain things affect you negatively. So if I know that or I believe that it's going to affect me negatively, I cannot in good conscience, and this is not against you, Pamela, I'm just telling you my point of view. If I know that what I'm eating or what I'm serving people in my house could potentially harm them, I'm not going to serve it to them. And just because they want to eat it, and I know it could potentially harm them, I'm still not going to serve it to them. Now, they can go get it any way they want to. I'm not going to follow them and tell them that they shouldn't eat it. I'm just not going to serve it to them in my house. Now, I will find an alternative. This might be what you're saying. But if I know that it could potentially harm somebody, I'm not going to serve it to them. I'm not going to give it to them. Because at the end of the day, I'm responsible for everybody that comes into my house. And again, Pamela, you might be saying the same thing. And, again, it's just one of them situations. On A2, we are telling you what we believe and we know that works. And if something else is presented that we don't know that it doesn't work, what we're saying is we haven't seen any proof that it doesn't work, that it does work, excuse me. But that doesn't mean I'm going to go on every person's channel who promotes sovereign citizenship or buying land and putting it in a trust and then argue with those people and tell them that they're wrong for doing it. That's not what I'm going to do, because what that does is that keeps me from helping the people here on A2. That keeps me from helping the people in my community. That keeps me from doing what I'm doing. So that was the point that I was speaking to, but I do understand your point. And yeah, I will make sure that they have something to eat. But if they're insistent that they have beef and pork, I don't serve beef and pork in my house. So if you want to go get beef and pork, you gotta go somewhere else. Now there are some other alternatives here, and if you don't want that, then that's on you. So that's my take on that. But I definitely understand their point of view, man.
Yeah, and that's it. We don't waste our time. There's plenty of people in this community that have different ideologies. A2 doesn't waste his time trying to debate. We do not debate. Like I said, we're putting boots on the ground, putting solutions to work. And all we're doing is doing what we know that works. We're not guessing with this. We're using mechanisms that we know that works. You know how we know that works? Because we're standing here in front of you, talking to you off the same mechanisms. That's how we know.
And many of us have been in entities and worked in entities where it has worked and it's still working. So it's not a guessing game. And I am by no stretch of the imagination saying that other individuals with different viewpoints or different, let's put it this way, with different conclusions are saying that it doesn't work. I don't know that it doesn't work. I will always say and will continue to say, I haven't seen that it works. If that makes sense. And just because I haven't seen that it works, doesn't mean it doesn't work. But until someone shows me that it works and can prove that it works, I am forced to be on the side that until I see it, it doesn't work.
That's it. Can't waste time on a maybe for something that I know that's for surely.
So at the end of the day, I'm not going to spend my time chasing somebody that don't want to hear something I got to say or trying to force feed an ideology down somebody's throat to try to convert people. Here's the one thing that we're willing to accept over here over at A2. If there's only 10 to 15 people that want to do your genealogy to find out if you're Indian or not, and then tie into your tribe, and then become to help your tribe, then we would dedicate every resource that we have to those 10 to 15 people.
It does not matter.
I'm not trying to gain an army. I'm just trying to do what I'm supposed to do based off of what I know. There we go with them questions again. You asking questions, but you ain't provided one answer.
Maybe it's best for you to start your own platform and reach out to like-minded people that's like you, instead of coming here trying to question and debate us. Because what's going to start happening is it will be ignored, because all it's doing is distracting. You asking questions about eating and all that. Where's your resources to provide it? See, let's start being realistic and let's wake up from the fairy tale. We're grown men and women here. And the one thing that I take seriously is my time, because no one can give you time back. And when it's done, it's done. So I say again, we have a mechanism and methods that are working for the people that are using them. What is your issue? If you have a different ideology, that's cool. Go someplace and promote that, but not here.
Go to Moon says, do we know terms our people call themselves? Yeah, there's a link that Bones had put out where if you go and click on that link, you'll find out what the Indians actually call themselves. Do you have access to that link right now, Bones? That talks about the tribes and what they originally called themselves?
No, I don't have it on me, but it's on the C.A.B page and A2 page.
Okay.
It's labeled and the links are in the description.
So yeah, go to Moon. If you go there, you'll be able to get that information.
Yes, the video, you had the one where it tells you about the 573 federally recognized tribes. Then you got the first half of the 500 and some local tribes. And then each video, there's links to them. And if you listen to it at the end, a lot of the tribes that's still in existence, their addresses and phone numbers. Also, in the latest video that's posted up on finding the Indian in your family when they're not on records and rolls, also in there, it's a list of a lot of the tribe's addresses where you can contact and actually ask them questions directly yourself. Stop guessing. The information is there for you to use and access. That's why we put it together.
So again, the goal is to provide you with the information so then you can go ahead and do what you need to do with it. And, if you choose to do that, great. If you don't choose to do that, great. So, to me, it's simple. I'm a pretty simple guy. I keep things simple and easy.
Yeah, it's your choice. We're not twisting nobody's arm, but if you want to access it, it's there.
So so tomorrow, what I would like to do, Bones, so we can give our relatives a preview of where we're going, because we're still on Mr. Greenwood LeFleur, and there was an Indian chief that he mentioned that was mentioned that I want to talk about. Give me a second. Yeah, that blood law messed me up, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, they removed the checks and balances. And like we said, no foreigner can come in and change tribal law and the way they're doing things. It takes an Indian to do that. Whether he's half foreigner, half Indian, he's still tied into that tribe through his mother.
Right? Because she married, or she had a child by LeFleur.
And the women picked the chiefs. So then again, like I said, we want to give credit to the system we had and all this and that. But this same system are the ones that pick the family members that sold you out. Come on now, we can't just take half and throw the other half out. No, you got to accept all of it, the good and the bad, the happy and forward.
always, always blaming people. Just take
It's like they do your genealogy, you tie back into the floor. You have a responsibility.
Boy, do you. I know I do.
Tie back into the branch. You have a responsibility. Come on. He was chief over these dudes were chiefs over a couple of these tribes that you're going to tie back into. Find out half your family sided with them, then what you going to do? Disown them? That sounds like the same mess they did.
Did he just ask that? Okay.
I guess he's been missing for a long time.
You do know what matrilineal means, right? A matriarchal society. Wow.
They voted for the chiefs. The women sat on the council in most cases. How many different tribes we done did history on, and that's the first thing they telling you. How their political systems and their governmental systems work.
Right, this is like the third tribe we talked about just from the Revolutionary War.
You gotta know your tribal history. You gotta know who you are. Or if not, when you go to talking this speculative stuff, it makes you look crazy.
That's the reason why when you deal with tribes today, they said you have to go through your mother's line. Is because the reason why you have to go through your mother's line is because if you're not what they call a quote-unquote full-blood Indian, 9 times out of 10, you only have one line of your parents that ties into the tribe. But 9 times out of 10, if you're melanated on both sides and you are an Indian, you are Indian on both sides. So it doesn't matter whether you go through your mother's or your father's side because your father's got a mother too.
Bingo.
But if you're mulatto and you are having, or there's been a lot of mixing with Europeans in your family or Asians or what have you, then what you've done is you've weakened your tie, if any, to a tribe. Which basically means you have to go in, you have to tie in with your mother's side because the likelihood of you tying in on your father's side is null and void.
And people got to remember this. There's 3 major ways you can tie into a tribe: marriage, adoption, blood.
Yep. Marriage, adoption, and blood. So there are some tribal members whose ancestors were adopted, and they are part of a tribe because their ancestors were adopted, and because they were adopted, you automatically in because you tied into them.
Mm-hmm. Genealogy is key.
If you don't do it, you're not going to be able to find out what your true what land you have access to. You're not going to be able to find out what spirituality you're tied into. You're not going to be able to find out what secrets or things that are sacred that your family ties into. You're not going to be able to find out what your professional occupation is, because in order to find those things out, you need to go back home. You need to go back to your tribe. Who are your people? Where do you come from? Everybody has a starting point. Everybody has a tribe. You came from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, if someone is under the guise of helping you with your genealogy, and they're not telling you or instructing you to tie into your tribe to find out what your history is, if they're not instructing you to tie into your tribe to find out what landmass you came from, if they're not telling you to tie into your tribe to find out what your true spirituality is, if they're not trying to tell you to tie into your your tribe to find out what your occupation or your things that your tribe considers secret or sacred, if they're not telling you to do those things, then you need to question them. Why not? Why not? Because from what I know, that's the only way that you're going to be able to find out who you really are.
Yeah, posted a video on how you tie back into the tribe. The same video I was talking about, finding relatives that's not on no rolls or anything like that tying the Indians. They tell you the only way the tribes are accepting this information is through genealogy.
Yeah, and it's difficult. Yeah, and at the end of the day, nothing worth having is easy. But here's one thing I do know. If you're sincere and that is your goal, you'll find your people. Well, they'll find you.
But you got to be willing to do the work. You can take the same time that you're sitting here asking rhetorical questions. You can take that same time and search a family member. 10, 15 minutes a day to work on one family member. You don't think you owe that to yourself? Matter of fact, you don't think you owe that to your children? Their children? Because obviously, I know asking these questions over and over, that ain't improving your situation.
And here's another thing. I'm not concerned with all the people before me. I'm more concerned with all my ancestors before me. That's where my concern is. Because I know all my ancestors before me are more likely to be for me than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not concerned with everybody else. I'm concerned with my people. I can't help everybody else until I get me straight first.
Facts.
If I ain't straight, how am I gonna help you? Like, I have more time to dedicate to helping people find their genealogy because I already know who my tribe is. So it's easier for me to devote more time to somebody else who doesn't know what tribe they belong to.
Mm-hmm. This is not a guessing game here.
And as Free would say, there is a helmet for that. Go to Moon says, TMH Bones, where's y'all spray? Be gone spray.
Don't worry, I just sprayed him with it. He been hit with it.
And you know, at the end of the day, we try to be as diplomatic as possible. You know, not wanna, you know, create dissension or cause a problem. But at the end of the day, you know,
it is what it is.
Exactly.
Things don't have to be so complicated. If you're too busy worried about what everybody else doing, but you don't even know you, therein lies the problem. Your personal ideology, that's cool. We have no problem with that. But remember, that's your personal ideology. We're not here forcing anybody to do anything. The choice is yours. Like it was stated before, 5, 10, 15 people can show up here every day. We'll take the resources that A2 is gathering and we'll help them.
Yeah, we're
We're not here to be YouTube celebrities, YouTube famous. YouTube is just our outlet. It's not where we work at. It is our outlet.
And I want to, and because I already know how some people think and some people do, and I know their tactics because they're so predictable. I'm going to prevent this narrative from being created. I will say this: A2 does not care what it is that you believe. A2 is not here to tell you that just because you don't do what we do, you're wrong. That's not what we're here to do. We're not here to say that we're wrong, we're right, and everybody else is wrong. What we're here to say is we have a way that's been proven to work. That's what we're here to say. I don't know what other ways work. I'm not here to tell you that your way doesn't work. I'm not here to tell you that my way works better than your way. What I can say is this way works because I know it works. I've used it and I've been using it, and there are numbers of examples of it working. And if you're going to propose something other than what we're saying on this site, on this platform, the least you could do is present an example of how it worked and how it is still working. So for those in the cheap seats that did not hear me or who want to create a narrative, A2 is not telling you what works outside of what we do. We're not here to tell you what doesn't work. We're here to tell you what we're doing, what our goal is, who we're here to help, what we know that works for us. And if you want to join us and help your tribe and help your family, we're here for you. If you're here to come up, if you're here to debate, cause confusion, and we ain't got time for that. Go do what works best for you on your platform and in your community, and I wish you well. I'm not here to tell you what you're doing is wrong. So please don't try to go create a narrative that says, well, A2, or there are some organizations that say that their way is the only way that's right. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying what we do over here, we know that it works. And if you're going to present something on this platform as an alternative, at least the least you can do is give an example of something that works and how it has worked and how it's been beneficial. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm asking. Because if you're not able to do that, then you're going to force me into a position that it doesn't work. And that's not a fair position to put what you're trying to prove into. So my position is this: if you can't prove that it works, don't bring it up over here. Because
whether or not it works, most people are, I heard anyway, on some, I heard this, I seen this, or not I seen this, because if you've seen it, you can prove it.
I mean, how many people done reached out from me, myself, to TMH, to Copper Indio? We help with their genealogy. We help them find members. These are not things that we're sitting here saying. And no, I'm not even saying this like we deserve any credit for, because this is what we're supposed to be doing. And then the question is, You keep saying colonizing Europeans, but what side are you really playing for? If you're here causing distractions and we're helping people help their families and tribes, who are you for again? People say be careful of the hijack, but who's the hijacker? Because I say again, I don't never see no so-called Europeans in these chats coming up on these panels, distracting, causing mischief and drama in our community. It's always the ones that look like us. They're the first and strongest resistance. Because it's kind of funny. During my journey, and I can only speak for self, I found more of the ones that don't look like me more willing to help the ones that look like me. And it's kind of funny that I even have to say this, and we see it playing out in real time.
That's because we have people in our own community that look like us always pointing to the colonizer as a problem. Mind you, the colonizer and what the colonizer has done, the Europeans, whatever you want to title them as, they are the problem. But they're not the only problem. How can we, as a people, how can we as Indians begin to negotiate with the United States government if we're not even in our proper alignment? If we're not on code, if we're not doing what we're supposed to do, if we haven't taken out our own trash, if we haven't corrected our own mistakes, if we haven't looked in the mirror to determine what it is that we need to fix, how are we going to tell the government what the government should do when we're in a worse situation personally and organizationally than the government is?
That's not a negotiation whatsoever. You're going to sit your butt down and somebody's going to tell you what you finna do. Life as you know it right now. I
mean, it's just something to think about. I mean, until we fix what's wrong with us, it's going to be very difficult to fix our relationship with the government.
Man, ain't Congress open?
What do you mean, ain't it open?
So why these people that got so much ideology and so much that can help and fix, why they over here on our YouTube channel? Shouldn't they be someplace in DC talking to Congress, having to sit there? Not even, they don't gotta go far. Have you met your local senator, your mayor, your commissioner, any city official? Matter of fact, have you even been out to any tribes that's locally in your area? Do you know if there's any?
Man, you know the answer to that question. Fear. Why do that when I could just... Why do all that to solve the problem when I could just go on other people's channels and chats and just ask a bunch of questions with no intentions on getting any answers or giving any answers? Why would I do that? Why? What sense does that make? Especially if I'm scared.
Why does the tribe need an army to protect it when the U.S. Army works for the tribe? Go out there, call yourself invading one of them tribes and see what happens. Play with it. Just play with it. They're in government-to-government relationships with the U.S. Go out there and mess with one of them tribes, think you finna invade one of them. Be Black Hawk down all over again on your behind.
Was that the nickname, the indigenous name?
Here's a question. Who's Canada's army? What army does Canada have to protect it? I'll wait. I'll tell you, I'll give you a hint. Canada has the same army protecting it as the federal, state, and local recognized tribes. They have the same army protecting it.
Same military Puerto Rico got. See, instead of doing all this back and forth, all you got to do is just open up and just read the constitutions. Just read the tribal constitution. Just read one, anyone. Take your pick. I don't care whose you pick.
If you was actually dealing with the tribes in your locations, half the questions you ask you wouldn't be asking, or you would at least be referencing them as far as where you got your information from. So don't do that.
Yeah, please don't.
And I know for a fact there are tribes out there where you're located that are matrilineal and they choose their chiefs. Don't play. Don't play. Please don't play. This is the wrong channel to play on, boss. It's the wrong channel to play on.
We're very in contact with tribes, so listen, don't do that. You will get exposed. Please don't.
He must be number 2 penciling y'all, yo. He tested.
Yeah, please don't.
Because the next question I'm gonna ask you is what tribes? So if you want to go down that road, that's gonna be my next question. What tribes that you in contact with?
I'm still going to. I did the video over 1,000 of them with numbers and location. Play with it, man.
And there are a lot of tribes out there, but where you at? So don't do that. You have been warned.
Don't do it. Please don't do it.
So. Again, if you come to this channel asking questions, you will get questions asked of you. If you come with some alternative information or an alternative solution, we will ask you to prove it.
Oh, see, he must have got it twisted. This not even your average American Indian chat here. See, you can't tell this chat anything.
And expect them to just believe it.
They're going to question you. This ain't just a follow what nobody say chat. Wrong channel, buddy. Wrong channel.
You gotta realize we put the links in the chat for a reason. We're not expecting them to just go off of what we read. What we're expecting is for them to read it and then come back with any corrections. That's what we're hoping for. We're looking for corrections. We're looking for mistakes we made because we want to be corrected.
Most definitely are.
We want to get it right.
In the chat, you can contact us. Let us know.
Yeah, we're not saying that what we're saying is absolutely 100% right. We put the links in there to be corrected for additional information to be proposed, or for us to go somewhere or look at something that we didn't think about. So when you come over here on A2 and you come with that muckety muck, oh yeah, you best be able to have something to back it up. You best be able to have some links. You best be able to have some PDFs. You better be able to have some, because if not, you're gonna get embarrassed.
Very thorough. Every video A2 has put out with the information on it. Very thorough and factual information. Source, location.
So I mean, let me ask you this question, because you know you just stepped in it, right? You said, these are your words. Yes, there is, and some have casinos, but most are in serious poverty. Have you not ever heard us say? If you find your tribe, we will help you help your tribe. Even if it's not your tribe and that tribe needs help, why have you not reached out to us about the tribe or send us an email about that tribe? I'll wait.
Simple. That's what we're here for.
I'll wait.
We are here to help the tribes become self-sufficient with the tools and resources that A2 has gathered.
Mic check, Bones. A little choppy. I want to hear that again, loud and clear.
We have said it time and time again. Our mission statement is to help the Indians and the tribes become self-sufficient with the resources that A2 has gathered. That is our mission. That is our purpose. So if you're going out here and you're seeing tribes struggling, and these are our people, you're not bringing it to the forefront, who are you again? Looking very unfamiliar.
break it up. You break it up, Bones.
I got the message, yeah, but you're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna ask you for contact information, and we're gonna ask for an introduction. Cause don't just give me a name and a phone number and you ain't talked to them. If you talk to them, they should know who you are, and they should be expecting our call. So if you're really out there doing something with tribes, then you would have contact information. Contact information is not hard. Again, this is not the channel to be playing on just to either say stuff or save face or make yourself bigger than what you are. And I'm not indicating that's what you're doing. What I'm trying to do is keep you from doing it.
I'm warning you, you're not a political entity on the planet. Ain't too scared to sit down in a room with.
And, you know, this goes for anybody that knows of a tribe and has contact with a tribe that needs help. I mean, when we say tribes, that's what we mean. It doesn't. We don't know all the tribes. We haven't reached out to all the tribes. We haven't spoken to all the tribes. So if there's a tribe that you're familiar with, even if it's not your tribe, and you can help them, let us talk to them. We'll make you the contact to help them, and by you helping them, they will help you. See, that's the part that people don't understand. Sometimes it's not about them helping you first. What can you do to help them? And if you know there are resources to help specific tribes, just because that tribe is not your tribe, that don't mean that tribe doesn't deserve those same resources. So if you are in contact with tribes and you know that they need the help, then it is from my perspective, it is your duty to let them know that there's help available and that we can help them if they want the help. If they don't want it, that's something different. But at the end of the day, we're here to help. So tomorrow's show, we're going to continue with Greenwood LaFleur, and we're going to get into a little bit of who his father was and the French Canadian company that he worked for, Patton, Leslie and Company.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get into some of these chiefs, other chiefs that signed this treaty.
Gonna get very interesting. And we got to remember, this is going on at the same time with Joseph Brand. Remember, we're still in the American Revolution. It's a different tribe.
And so this is a chief that we're going to be talking about too. Marshall Latubi. I'm gonna put it in the chat. So give y'all a homework assignment. Okay. He's a Choctaw chief. So anybody have anything you want to share before we end for the day?
Well, do your genealogy, find your tribe, tie back into your tribe, and we'll help you help your tribe. We're going to keep stating it.
And if anyone is encouraging you to do your genealogy, right? But they are not encouraging you to find out how you are tied to anything other than your tribe, meaning your occupation, your profession, meaning what you were known for, the secrets that your tribe kept sacred, your land, location, or even your spirituality. If they're not encouraging you to tie into your tribe to find out those things, the question you need to ask them is why? If not my tribe, then who should I be getting this information from and why? I mean, simple, point blank. That's all I got. You got anything you wanna bring out? Don't sell out.
Mic check.
Yeah, we got you.
1, 2.
If you hit a wall doing your genealogy, actually doing some work, you're not just logging in for the first time. If you hit a wall, contact us. Mic check, the wind's blowing, my bad. At ontogenousAssembly@gmail.com to join the ancestry.com community page that we have, or community account, to get further assistance with your genealogy. Tie back to your tribes. Y'all have a great day.
So, IC Network is seriously urging for strike 3. So he puts, call me and I can clear up my behavior. For you, simple as that. So so basically what you're telling me is if we don't call you, then you're not gonna clear up your behavior. Bro, you have no leverage to negotiate that.
You forgot just last week he said call me, and what you said? Come on, son.
Come on, man.
Come on.
Oh, this is a different IC Network. I see. Okay.
So what you think you're gonna do? You think you're gonna take over the channel or continue to allow to be a distraction? If you
might as well create a new page right now.
Obviously, you already know that your behavior needs to be cleaned up. Why don't you clean up your behavior first? Why somebody got to call you for you to clean up your behavior?
Man, 17 years old.
I'm just saying. So at the end of the day, you can be removed from this chat permanently.
He's at 187. Going off.
And to show you to show you that not only do tribes have protection, but a nonprofit has protection. Keep playing.
Oh, please stop playing.
You're interfering with a nonprofit at work, so keep playing.
Exactly. I don't know why they not paying attention. We're not talking. We're actually doing it in real time. We're living what we're telling our people. We ain't guessing that nonprofits work. We're a nonprofit. Tell it works.
So at the end of the day, no one's going to call you to clean up your behavior. Be an adult and clean up your own behavior or get removed from the chat. Period, point blank, in the discussion. And that's all I got to say about that.
So like we say on that note, it's always fun with the relatives. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. And until the next rising, peace.
Peace.